It's a good day today, folks. You're not going to believe it. I had pleasant dreams. I woke up, I got out of bed, and I'm starting stream on time. I know, it's crazy, but it's happening. It's real. It's not a dream. Unlike the dream that I had, in which I was, it was a Twin Peaks dream. Um, I was back at uni, um, but there was an FBI department at the university and I was an FBI agent, but it wasn't like the FBI. It was like the fantasy fake FBI, where all you do as an FBI agent is go to small, smoky mountain towns that have a dark secret, and you like uncover the secret. You know what I'm talking about? It was very Deadly Premonitions. It was very Twin Peaks. It was very that was the vibe there. It was good. What's Twin Peaks? Wouldn't know. Haven't watched it. I'll get around to it though. Oh my, you look good today. Oh golly, did you happen to see that there is a new Mapman video rocking that slash those clothing article parentheses S and parentheses you like a lot? I appreciate you dropping that before I even turned the camera on. That was good of you. I'm glad I kept it off for as long as I did. McConnell tripped and fell, huh? Here he is rocking the classic Ivy fit. Well, almost. Almost.
My name is Stella. I want to ask, do you support ICE taking working people off the streets and kidnapping them?
It's so funny how the official line for why he couldn't be House Majority Leader anymore was because he was too old, but he still gets to be a senator. You know, I would probably do the same thing. That's what, like, well, you can't fault him for that. I unironically like his sneakers, just not with that outfit. Buddy, that's the only thing wrong with his outfit. Are you doing this on purpose to upset me? He's wearing a classic Ivy fit here, okay? The one thing that's fucked up is he's not wearing, loafers or fucking oh god, how am I blanking on the name? The one where the vamp is laced over the, what are they called? Come on. Why am I blanking? No, not Oxfords. The other one. Not moccasins. That's when the outsole is stitched. Clogs, boat shoes? No, the thing that's like Oxfords, but derbies. Thank you. Manakini, the same person who said that you like his sneakers, also the only person in chat who knows what I'm talking about. You fell, but you've risen yet again.
My name is Stella. I want to ask, do you support ICE?
He's dressed like every jock in a college comedy. No, he's not. They tend to wear crew necks or rugby shirts. However, yes, the Ivy style was popularized in the 1960s in Ivy League schools, but it wasn't worn by the jock. Well, it was worn by a lot of people. Don't worry about it.
Taking working people off the streets and kidnapping them?
Isn't McConnell pretty directly responsible for our SCOTUS situation? Sorry, King. Learned about you from the fit. Didn't realize that you condemned the America to a conservative Supreme Court majority for 50 years. Unfollowing immediately. What if he did this just to not answer the question? Dude! You could get out of so much shit as an old person by doing that. That would be awesome. The anthology sent an email saying they're covering the cost of the de minimis rule. What? Wait, really? They sent an email? I'm on their mailing list. Wait. Oh my God, you're right. To our friends slash anthologists in the U.S., changes to U.S. customs regulations have officially come into practice with the removal of the de minimis rule. In practice, this means all orders shipped to the U.S. will now carry an import tariff. Rest assured, this won't change your experience with us. That's so fucking cool. You know, on the clothing front, I needed a pair of loafers, and they finally restocked in the type of Jay Butler loafer, and that I wanted. Then I saw that their loafers run rather skinny, and that I have wide feet. The sizing section of the item specifically said, "We found our shoes do not fit people with double E or triple E width shoes or feet." And I was like, "Aw," and then I ordered them anyway, one size up. And then later I saw they had a wide version of the exact same loafer on their site in stock in my size, so I just bought that. Bosh, that's more an admission of profit margins than anything. Good, they deserve to be wealthy. Do you have any idea how nice their clothes are? Also, they're based out of Hong Kong. Carmina has nice loafers. Yeah, these look pretty nice. Now, they are a little bit pricey. I understand we all have pretty high opinions of my income here, but these are definitely on the pricier side of things. They look very good though. The Jay Butler ones are online. They're relatively inexpensive as high quality loafers go. Take a look at this. This is what I got. Fucking all the goddamn pop-ups. See? They're nice and unstructured. I've been obsessed with these ever since I saw this one fucking penny loafer guide image that Dye Workwear keeps using over and over. Is this not such a good fit? The loafers look so good with the rest of the outfit. They're so good in a casual or like more relaxed formal setting, you know? So good. Are these like lifetime loafers though? I mean, if the sole wears out, you can get the sole replaced. Mm. Okay. Hold on. One moment. That was a lot of coffee grounds. I stubbornly knew I was making my coffee incorrectly this morning, but did I stop? Did I change cups? No. I have a pair of these lasting over 10 years. Oh, these are beautiful and very American. Get an espresso? I have an espresso. I want to get Grant Stone service boots this season. I think that'd be a great pickup. I wish they had them in stock locally. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah. We actually get to fuck around a little bit more today than normal. You know why? This is not the only stream today. How'd you get coffee grounds in an espresso? Don't worry about it. We're doing 2 streams today. You see, today at 4 p.m. PT is the goddamn Mamdani debate. Mamdani Cuono Sliwa. And you know we're peeping in on that. So I figure that right now, for this stream, we'll go until 2 p.m. PT, or 3 hours from now. Then we'll take a short break. I'll get my errands done. We'll come back and we'll do another one. That's a lot of work. Are you getting paid overtime? I guess that really depends on your generosity, doesn't it? What a treat. Yeah. Okay. What the fuck is going on in the world today? Oh yeah, I saw this. Check it. Some good news. Federal immigration officers in the Chicago area are required to wear body cameras, judge says. Fuck yes. It's like the simplest, easiest hammer you can smack them with. It's so obvious. But holy shit, this could potentially do so much to deter their worst behavior. We know they're all dropping the N-bombs like the moment they're away from the journalists. We know what these people are like. Having any kind of persistent recording on them is going to do so much to quiet them down. Holy shit. They don't have to turn them on. That's a separate order. Yeah, well, you know, we get our steps. 1 second. Doot to doot to doot. Doot to doot to doot. Pritzker applauds judge's ruling requiring immigration agents to wear body cameras. There we go. Give me the article. What about them not being allowed to wear masks? Would that help? Well, that can't be ruled by a judge. That's a California law thing. Like, there's no existing law in the books that a judge could interpret in a way that would make the ICE have to comply with it in Illinois. You know, like there's no law against wearing a mask as an officer. If there was a law, then a judge could interpret it and rule against ICE. But in this case, it's not really applicable. U.S. District Judge Sarah Ellis said she was, quote, a little startled after, oh, good heavens, after seeing TV images of street confrontations that involved tear gas and other tactics during Donald Trump's administration's immigration crackdown in the nation's third largest city. I live in Chicago, if folks haven't noticed, and I'm not blind, right? Community efforts to oppose ICE have ramped up in Chicago. Neighborhood groups have assembled to monitor ICE activity and film incidents involving agents. Yeah. This is definitely going to be challenged by the administration, but still, I think it's a big step. Obviously, they all need to be, they need to have the cameras on them. Uh-oh, upsetting the grannies finally. You know, I mean, I don't actually know if she's a grandma. I just said it in that voice. However, you know, the right wing in America is too libertarian coded for their own good. You know, what the right wing wants politically is authoritarian crackdown. Day of the rope, blood in the streets, a police state. They want, you know, soldiers marching down Main Street. You know, that's what they want, like politically. But what they want personally and aesthetically is like, you know, free outdoor range, American exceptionalist, you know, no man can tell me how to live my life, etc., etc. You know, you see it in the rhetoric of all these right-wing types, even the openly Nazi ones. I think that the more these images and videos of ICE are publicly broadcasted and made evident to even like Republicans, I think that it's going to get less and less savory to them. You know what I mean? I covered the Supreme Court yesterday. Very spooky stuff. They're hitting the dang Voting Rights Act in the head with a ball peen hammer. Very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. So what's this little nugget right here? ICE arrests police officer in Chicago suburb. Yes, please. Wait, this is the guy they arrested? Really? This one? The Aryan super soldier? The steely-jawed, austere-looking white man? Okay, let's go. Look at his hat, good-looking uniform. I think even the most stalwart anarchists can agree that a police cap looks good, regardless of its associations, you know? I don't know where it comes from, where it derives. I don't know if it's like originally a British thing. It's the police hat, you know? ICE agents arrested a police officer Thursday morning in the Chicago suburb of Hanover Park, accusing him of being an unlawful immigrant from Montenegro? Okay. The DHS says the officer, Radul Bojovic, overstayed a tourist visa that expired in 2015. Sure. The Hanover Park Police Department shared a Facebook post in August announcing Bojevic's recent graduation from the Suburban Law Enforcement Academy, adding that he had started, quote, an intensive 15 weeks of field training and evaluation as he continues preparing to serve the Hanover Park community. CNN has reached out to the Hanover Park Police for comment and has attempted to reach Bojovic. Oh, here we go. This is from the DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin. We've heard of this one before. Is this the No, this isn't the I wish I was born a Jew one. She works for the State Department. This is another one of those like Hitlerite 15-year-olds working for the administration. Oh, I remember her. We saw a video of her and I was like, is this woman like allowed to drink? I remember. Yeah. We saw her in a CNN interview and I was like, I literally don't know if this is a woman or a girl. I have no idea. She looks like 15, maybe 17, you know? Many such cases in this administration, you know, Trump wants to be surrounded with young girls. It's a tendency. Anyway, she said, Radul Bojovic violated our nation's laws and was living illegally in the United States for 10 years. What kind of police department gives criminal illegal aliens badges and guns? Oh my fucking God, this is a fucking godsend to us. If there is one bias that police have over all others, it's the fraternal bias. They will do anything to protect their own, okay? Please, God, ICE, arrest more police officers. All of this, like, racial, nationalist, xenophobia bullshit goes out the window once you start actually going after cops. They're going to fucking hate you for it. And they know it, too, which is why, which is why their assistant secretary would have to make a statement to CNN right after the arrest. They arrest thousands and thousands and thousands of people every week. They had to make a statement for this one specifically because they know how fucking fraught with danger it is to go arresting cops. That's crazy. They're so dumb. Why would they do that? Why wouldn't they just leave it alone? Why they have to understand that one of their biggest weak points right now is their relationship with the police in Chicago. Like, if the police in Chicago don't get along with them, they can't do anything. They're hamstrung. Why would they exacerbate that? That's insane. I'll keep it up. Hold on. If they had to make a statement to CNN, I wonder if the anchors acknowledge it publicly. Let me see if there's a video. Here's a video on Chicago, but I don't see a video specifically on the cop. Let me see if I can find that while we watch this, because I'm really interested in seeing any more, finding any more info on it.
A federal judge in Illinois scrambled to convene a last-minute hearing this morning to say she is, quote, startled by videos she is seeing of ICE's tactics on the streets of Chicago. Now, she says she has, quote, serious concerns that the federal law enforcement agents she is seeing are not following her orders in the Windy City. Her statement comes as CNN obtains new video that shows a Border Patrol agent tackling and pinning.
Oh, yep, here we go. They are so desperate to get ahead of the narrative on this one. Look at this press release from DHS.gov. In Governor J.B. Pritzker's Illinois, illegal alien is working as a sworn police officer with badge, gun, and pension. They are desperate to get ahead of this one. I'm sorry, this is actually, and I mean it, this is an unwinnable conflict on their part. This cannot be won. There is no universe in which the optics pan out in favor of the arrest and deportation of a man who looks like this It's just not happening. It's not happening. The police aren't going to like it. Republicans aren't going to like it because they're going to be like, no, he looks like he was one of the good ones. And obviously Democrats aren't going to like it because ICE is doing it, you know? They had to go after the whitest fucking Montenegrin. I swear to God. I'm sure there were others. Jesus.
A 19-year-old outside of a Walgreens store in Chicago.
He's a citizen! He's a citizen! He's a citizen! He's a citizen! That's my brother-in-law!
Get away from me! You don't know what's going on, so get the back!
Insane thing for ICE to say, by the way. You don't know what's going on, so get the fuck back. Like, they're so obviously not trained as cops. They're just paramilitaries. They have none of the, like, I can't believe we reached a point where we can watch videos like this and go, I miss the calm sensibilities and extensive discipline training of U.S. police.
Just want to emphasize, she was saying he's a citizen. That's what she was screaming. And the incident started when agents crashed their vehicle into an SUV. The people inside that car fled on foot. Agents chased them into a Walgreens. Witnesses tell CNN they went into the Walgreens to record what was happening.
People are getting confused by the name Montenegro in the Balkans. Really, what about the name Montenegro would make people think that it wasn't in the Balkans out of curiosity?
But they were forced to leave and confronted the agent pinning the 19-year-old to the ground outside the store. CNN's Whitney Wild is in Chicago. Whitney, that video is just one of several we've seen in recent days in Chicago. And we don't know if the judge saw that particular video, but we're just playing a random images and videos that she's been watching in the news.
And there are a lot of them. The reality here is that whenever there are these confrontations between the public and federal agents that flare up, there is a lot of video captured by people on the ground. This has been a huge story in Chicago. Media outlets, everyone, every one of the broadcast networks, all of the newspapers, all of the blogs here are covering this story very, very carefully, Dana. And so what this judge said was after she had seen these news reports, she wanted, to bring everybody back into court to explain themselves. So let me just give you a little bit of context for the court case. So over the last several weeks, we've seen these flare-ups between protesters, members of the press who are covering the protest and federal agents at the Broadview ICE facility. That's about 30 minutes west of Chicago. And, it was there that we were starting to see federal agents use.
I really hope Elio's arrest an ICE officer next. That's probably going to be the big. That's going to be the big, legal confrontation point. At least I hope it is. That would be basically ideal for us. I've been thinking that when the big happening happens, it's going to be some kind of point of violence between protesters and ICE. But if it ends up being like a scuffle between ICE and police, that would be the best possible scenario for us. It would be the easiest thing in the world for Democrats to defend. Everybody, even remotely left of center, would pretty obviously take the side of the cops over ICE. I don't think that's a hard call at all. And Republicans would have a tough time defending ICE because, they would be like openly on camera resisting police. It would be perfect for us. It would be ideal.
Using chemical munitions against peaceful protesters, against members of the press. This really blew up when a WBBM, that's the CBS affiliate here, a WBBM reporter says that she was pepperballed by federal agents in her vehicle and she had to get out. She couldn't breathe. It was a really dangerous situation for her. After that happened, the union that represents journalists went to federal court to ask a judge to put more controls on how federal agents are using force on the ground. Last week, a judge issued a temporary restraining order basically saying that federal agents are not to use chemical munitions against peaceful protesters, against members of the press. They needed to be much more cautious about their use of force. Then Tuesday happened. That is when that crash you referenced happened. The public saw that. It all played out on a city street in broad daylight. And when the public learned what happened, through witnesses, through basically word of mouth and from social media videos, a crowd gathered. And that's what you're looking at right here. As you see, the Chicago Police Department went to that scene to try to help with crowd control. As federal agents were leaving, they detonated again these chemical munitions, exposing the public, exposing.
Really appreciate her using the term chemical munitions, which of course that is exactly what they are.
reporters who were on the ground, but also members of the Chicago Police Department who did not know they were about to be tear gassed. So 13 of those officers were exposed. The judge referenced those incidents in aggregate, and so she brought everybody back into court today to explain themselves and reiterated the importance of following her temporary restraining order and put more conditions on it, Dana, adding that she wants every one of these federal agents who's working on this Operation Midway Blitz to wear a body camera. She says it must be recording, and then again...
Oh, okay. We have the recording confirmation.
And I think the most important moment from the hearing was when she said this. I'm a little startled, frankly, that since Thursday when
ICE don't give a shit about you LEOs. Well, it goes beyond that. Again, if we are working on my assumption, not just my assumption, there are plenty of people who have speculated this, that the reason ICE is all masked up is because a significant number of the new people that have bolstered their ranks are open and known white nationalist militias. In all likelihood, ICE fucking hates the cops. Like, these people probably think the cops are, like, compromised by the Jews or whatever. And I'm not exaggerating for comedic effect there. Like, that is a commonly held sentiment. There's, like, a right-wing horseshoe spectrum where the further to the right you get, the more likely these people are to despise the cops. You saw it with January 6th, right? Clearly, the right is willing to not back the blue once their aims get radical enough, you know, once they're, like, openly anti-law. It's a lot of these ICE people probably think that they're part of like the mission to destroy the deep state, and a lot of these cops are still part of the old system. What's LEO? Law enforcement officer. Why didn't the judge say no mask too? Because the judge can only rule in interpretations of the law, like jurisprudence where they make people account to existing laws. Judges can't create new laws, and there is no law in Illinois that would require ICE to wear masks. Anyway, the fact that a lot of the ICE agents despise the police, the fact that a lot of police are getting fed up with ICE because they're increasing their, you know, making their job a lot harder, tear gassing them and so on. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Entered that temporary restraining order last week. I'm getting images and seeing images on the news, in the paper, reading reports where, at least from what I'm seeing, I'm having serious concerns that my order's being followed. And then later she said, I'm really not happy. Again, she put more conditions on her temporary restraining order, and then she says she wants to see the ICE field director in court on Monday to explain himself, Dana.
Awesome. Fantastic. Great. I'm very happy to hear that. Oh, please, God, get ICE reps in there to explain what the fuck they're doing. I would love that. I am really surprised the administration didn't back off Chicago. Remember, they were gunning up to invade Chicago for a while. Right now, a judge's order is preventing the National Guard from going in. And then Trump said they're going to give up in Chicago and just focus on Portland. But then the lawsuits happened in Portland, and now they're back in Chicago. They're floundering so fucking hard, man. And every day, the approval rating just ticks lower and lower and lower. None of the underlying fundamental problems are being addressed. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Please. Okay, so this is Carolyn Levitt speaking on the police officer arrested by ICE. For this to even go to Carolyn Levitt, that's fucking crazy, man. Okay, they're really, really, really worried about the optics on this one.
I just want to hit you with a little bit of breaking news from DHS. You may not have heard of this. This just came out. Apparently, as part of Operation Midway Blitz, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, announced the arrest of Radule Bojovic, an illegal alien from Montenegro who was working as a sworn police officer with the Hanover Park Police Department. Bojovic apparently was encountered during a targeted enforcement action as part of Operation Midway Blitz. DHS reminding it's a felony for an illegal alien to possess a firearm, and this fellow apparently was working as a sworn police officer.
Everyone here looks insane. I can't get over this. Everyone here, they all look insane. No human should have these skin tones. They're all like bleached platinum blonde. They all look deranged. Their faces all look unnatural. It's crazy. Look at this. Look at this. What the fuck?
I know you might not know much about it, but wondering if we can get an initial reaction.
No, this is the first time I'm hearing of it. I will take your facts as the facts, John, on this one. And it's unsurprising to me to hear this because we've seen various examples of this. There was a superintendent, I believe in the state of Iowa, who was here in this country illegally with a final order of removal. We've seen that New York State has been giving out licenses illegally to illegal aliens with literally, it says, no name given on the driver's license. So these are the cases that happen when you had an administration, the Biden administration, for 4 years that completely neglected the laws of our homeland that allowed an
Homeland? Why is she talking like that? Illegally homeland? Why is she talking like that? Is her face still like numb?
mass invasion of tens of millions of illegal aliens, and they have been infiltrated into our communities. So this
been infiltrated into? I actually believe her. I believe that she didn't hear about this prior. Normally, when they say that, I assume they're lying, but this time I believe her. I think she's actually getting blindsided with this. Man, DHS or Homeland Security Assistant Secretary commenting on it, post on the website right after it happens, Fox News pitching it to Carolyn Levitt. It's not going to work out.
This is another unfortunate example of that, and the Department of Homeland Security is doing incredible work every single day.
Oh, don't post his picture, man. You know perfectly goddamn well every Fox viewer was imagining somebody who looked like they were from Somalia. You know perfectly goddamn well. You could have just left the implication. You should have just put a black guy in a you know, Halloween costume up with a little like unreadable text in the bottom right, you know, picture unrelated.
In the face of grave danger and threats, and also Democrats holding their paychecks hostage. We have federal law enforcement who are trying to keep our communities safe, and they are not being paid because of the Democrat Party, but they are doing God's work, and we are very grateful for them, and the president stands behind them 100%.
Carolyn, really appreciate you coming back on America Reports. Good to have you here.
It's not going to work out. I wonder if the Hanover Park Police Department is going to issue a public statement saying something to the effect of like, we're unaware of any concerns about an overstayed visa. However, so-and-so was like a beloved member of our department who dedicated his life to service and so-and-so. You know, like something defending him. Do you think their intention is to replace police? No, I don't think they have an intention. I think they're being really fucking stupid. There are so many cops in this country. Lowball estimate, 500 billion. There are a ton of cops in this country, and the combined, like, political and military might they possess is unrivaled by anything in the U.S., possibly even the Pentagon. Like, if you add up all of the police officers in the United States and all of the control and jurisdiction they have, like, I think that even the military would have an extremely difficult time not fighting against the police, but, like, in terms of control over the country, the police are already everywhere. So the thing you would expect them to do is you would expect the MAGA movement to lie and capitulate as much as possible to make sure the cops are on their side. The fact that they're not doing that is insane. I made a point a while ago, back in like 2023, 2024, that there was a noticeable shift in the MAGA movement. They went from expanding their base and bringing new people in to consolidating and closing out more people. You know, it was like the difference. I think the description was, or the difference was, like, there was the period of time where they liked Blair White because she did like that, you know, she did her like pick me op of no, you know, you can be a sane transgender and just not be supportive of gender ideology or whatever. But they've since completely dropped her. They don't care about her. There's now no room for trans people in their movement. You know, they don't have to pretend anymore. And this is one demographic where you can't afford to consolidate and leave them on the outside. There is no world in which a fascist movement overtakes a country without the support of police. It is not possible. It's not possible. It would be as ridiculous as a fascist movement taking over a country with no backing of capital. It would be insane. Maybe they'll shift the rhetoric soon. I just don't think they have a plan. I think the MAGA movement kind of assumed they already had the cops in the bag. I don't really know how else you can explain their behavior here. Like, no effort on the part of the DHS to coordinate with local police departments, or at least train their officers to not be openly belligerent to them. That's insane. You need the support of the police. The Nazis knew to lie nonstop and capitulate to make sure enough groups were on their side for them to seize power. I don't know. Don't they have the cops in the bag? They all vote Trump. Yeah, cops are Trump supporters, but cops are also self-interested, like very self-interested. They operate like gangs, effectively. I mean, they are very in-group oriented. So they can be pro-Trump, but then if ICE comes to their neighborhood, disrespects them, implicitly suggests they're doing bad at their job, tear gasses them, you know, they're not being shown respect, and it plays out in the dynamic. You know, cops are very prideful. Yeah, keep it up, I guess. Yeah, cops typically don't like it when federal officers step in their territory to begin with. So there's, you know, there's a couple of layers of disgruntlement at work here. Like an onion. Yeah, exactly. We barely covered this yesterday. It's such a big piece of news, and we barely covered it because so much happened yesterday and the day before. But we're ramping up operations in Venezuela. I do not know if this is going to lead to anything. Like Trump said directly to reporters for some reason that the CIA is operating in Venezuela. A couple of problems with this. For one, why would you say that? It's the CIA. You don't need to confirm their presence anywhere. For two, yeah, no shit. The CIA has already been there. Why wouldn't they have already been there? Of course they're already there. It's the job of the CIA to be in places like Venezuela. They were already doing stuff there. So I have no idea if Trump's confirmation of their activities in Venezuela means anything. I don't know. My guess is it means that somebody has talked to him recently about a CIA operation in Venezuela, so it's ramping up. Like, Trump usually just blathers shit in response to somebody having recently talked with him about it, so somebody had this conversation with him, you know? That's my guess.
Breaking news, President Trump hinting at a major expansion of American military action in Venezuela, saying one day after 6 people were killed in another strike of a ship near Venezuela's coast that he is now open to land strikes as well.
So much of the drugs, 25–30%, would come in through the seas. We've almost totally stopped it by sea. Now we'll stop it by land.
Are you considering strikes on land?
Well, I don't want to tell you exactly, but we are certainly looking at land now because we've got the sea very well under control.
So I don't know what this means. I don't know if he means firing missiles from the carrier group into Venezuela. I don't know if this means like setting up an armada on like off the shore of Venezuela. I have no idea. If Trump invades, how bad will go for him? We can't do an invasion. Ground invasions are incredibly expensive and incredibly difficult, and it would be very, 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 very unpopular. It's not going to happen. There's no way. I don't know if by land strikes he means the CIA. It's impossible to know what the fuck he means when he says anything. Has that stopped Trump before? Yes, it has. No, we are not going to do a boots on the ground invasion. It doesn't matter what he says. We're not going to do it. It's not happening, okay? There's absolutely no way that it's happening. Also, Venezuela has a very hostile environment for occupation. Yeah, it's not exactly the easiest country to invade. It's not happening. Also, with the way the Pentagon is being run right now, honestly, like the way the Pentagon is being run, Hegseth, I assume, makes our Pentagon during the Vietnam invasion look like geniuses. I think that logistically we would somehow manage to accrue like a greater than 1. Less than 1 KD ratio if we went in there. Like people would be, it would be like the Russians trying to drop a bunch of VDV over at an airport and dropping all of them into the river where they sink and freeze to death. We can't do it. We can't do it. Bay of Pigs 2.0. Yeah, well, the thing with the Bay of Pigs is that we at least didn't get Americans doing it. You say that like Trump hasn't done dumb shit all the time. You know, it kind of pisses me off when you guys forgo any like reasoning, and you stop analyzing the probabilities of things happening just because crazy things have happened. Like, yeah, Trump does a lot of crazy shit, but not ground invasion of Venezuela crazy. And you know what? If it happens, it happens. But yeah, no.
It's a very significant statement, and here's some context. Look at this map.
I don't know what it
flight
means.
data reviewed by CNN tonight shows that 3 B-52 bombers took off before dawn from a U.S. Air Force base in Louisiana and flew off the coast of Venezuela today for more than 4 hours. As of now, the Trump administration has confirmed at least 5 strikes since the beginning of September against Venezuelan targets. Pentagon correspondent Natasha Bertrand is out front. And Natasha, this comes as you are learning more about how people who would make these decisions about what is allowable, what is legal, those top legal voices are
Legality, honestly.
being sidelined about how the American military is being used. What more are you learning?
Yeah, Aaron, so we spoke to more than a dozen current and former defense officials, including half a dozen JAG officers who are the uniformed lawyers inside the Pentagon and throughout the military. And many of them told us that these strikes that the administration has been carrying out in the Caribbean, they do appear to be patently unlawful under international and domestic law. And that is part of the reason why we're told there have been a lot of concern.
Mosh places way too much faith in human collective common sense. You people are killing me. It's not common sense. Logistically, carrying out a ground invasion is insanely fucking difficult. Do you have any idea how much time and planning is required to move like tens of thousands of people into the boats and maintaining the supply lines and the logistics to make sure they're fed and they have fuel and all the coordination that it takes to establish like the front and then like you. There's a reason why overwhelmingly we prefer drone strikes these days, okay? It's not a matter of common sense. It's just like what is more likely to happen. Now, if we do engage in a drone campaign against Venezuela, that would also be fucking psychotic. I have no idea how extensive this is going to be. I have no idea. I don't know what I don't understand what he's even saying. Like authorizing CIA operations to do what? To kill Maduro? What are we doing here? Like, what's the actual goal here? It's not as though destabilizing Venezuela is going to decrease the number of refugees spread across the 2 continents. To steal oil, but we don't care. It's not. I don't think it's oil. I think it's much more likely that we're just doing this because fascists need an external target. You know, we keep fussing around for one. We've had difficulty. You know, we've had a tough time getting him. I mean, how do we, like, Iran hasn't really panned out. The problem is that, like, Trump wants a great external enemy, but he also wants to solve the problem immediately, you know? He did this with Yemen. He did this with Iran. He's done this with, like, multiple times. He wants, like, he wants there to be a great foreign enemy that he can use to stoke fear and direct people's attention towards, but at the same time he wants to be the guy who fixes it in 10 days, and he gets really frustrated and upset when it doesn't get fixed immediately. Like like right now he's anti-Russia, you know, it kind of he flips a coin every morning, right? He's not with Russia, he's with Ukraine. If he wanted to, he could make Russia the big enemy. Why doesn't he? Well, I think that part of it is the fact that ideologically he's not far off from Russia. Oh, he's pro-Russia today? Okay, well, he was anti-Russia yesterday, so let's go off that. But also, he can't solve the conflict between Russia and Ukraine immediately. There is no quick fix to that, so he's uninterested in it. He's very impatient, you know?
Raised within DOD's Office of General Counsel by several of these international legal experts inside that office about these strikes, raising questions about their legality. And in fact, we're told that the top international law expert in the Pentagon's Office of General Counsel has actually been reassigned out of that office altogether and has been cut out of those very important discussions. Now, DOD...
Cool. Speaking of being cut out of discussions, I'm sure you guys have seen, but basically every journalist at the Pentagon is out now. The Pentagon demanded that in exchange for their press passes being renewed, all of these journalists had to sign agreements essentially saying, like, they will only report on what they're told to report on, or they will not be given access to the Pentagon. Yeah, even Fox and OAN are leaving. Only like a couple of fringe networks are still at the Pentagon. Yeah, why bother staying at that point? Literally, why bother staying? Like, why bother? Like, it's you literally can only report on things. By the way, the requirement was so severe. They can only report on things they're explicitly told to report on, even if the information is unclassified. Even if there is absolutely no directive of secrecy placed on information, they still would have to wait for the Pentagon to explicitly authorize it. Oh, OAN stayed, Newsmax left. Okay, so you'll be getting your Pentagon news from the One America News Network. Couldn't they just leak the unclassified news? Well, they're going to be placed under a lot more scrutiny. News outlets were nearly unanimous in rejecting the new rules imposed by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth that will leave journalists vulnerable to expulsion if they sought to report on information, classified or otherwise, that had not been approved by Hegseth for release. From the fucking DOD head himself. Not even anyone below him. They would have to directly get permission from Hegseth. Trump supports the new rules, obviously. He called the new rules common sense. It does seem like even Fox News isn't keen on this. It is pretty insane. The MIC is done with all this public opinion nonsense and wants to go back to bombing countries in silence like we did with Laos. Yeah, again, another classic example of MAGA being fucking incompetent. If you really do want your Defense Department to run willy-nilly and attack countries with impunity, you don't kick out all the journalists. You just keep the ones that are loyal to you, and then you spoon-feed them information that's favorable to your regime. They've done the wrong thing here. By kicking basically everyone except for the most unserious people out, they've guaranteed that they're going to get negative coverage of any of the information that does leak, which will be all of it. It would have been smarter for them to keep a tight leash on the journalists that are still there, even the more neutral ones, CNN, NYT, whatever the fuck, and only give them like a favorable or like tightly controlled information. But they didn't do that because that would have been too much work, you know? It would have been too much work to cultivate a media environment favorable to you. Can you imagine how far Hitler would have gotten if he had given up on controlling the media? If Hitler was like, this is too hard, shrugged his shoulders, and then just let the media say whatever, but like from outside the parliament building or whatever? Isn't having them sign the pledge an attempt to tighten the leash? Retarded attempt to tighten the leash. Ridiculous. Might as well be written in crayon. You know? You can only say stuff I want you to say. Where's the subterfuge? You're dealing with journalists here. They have no integrity, but some of them at least presumably have above 100 IQ. Where's like the Department of Defense? Where's the Pentagon like recruiting a crack team of lawyers and PR officials to like massage public opinion by working over these journalists, getting on their good side, taking them out to dinners? Do you have any idea how much work Kissinger put into laundering his war crimes? No. I'm serious, okay? Kissinger, maybe the best to have ever done it in terms of wretched, horrendous war crimes through Pentagon, Department of State, but kept a very good relationship with a bunch of journalists so that they always thought of him favorably. Most of the media class thought of Henry Kissinger as a very accessible, very available, Democratic Party, take some notes, always easy to talk to person who was self-debasing in a comedic way. He had good words and negative words to say about him and Nixon, but, you know, at the end of the day, he laid it onto you straight. He didn't. He lied all the time, but that was the impression that he gave. Yeah, he was an incredibly talented manipulator, And what do we have now? Now we have a fucking crayon document. You can only say what I tell you to say. Fucking ridiculous. Thank God MAGA's incompetent, man. He did it so well, didn't he get the Nobel Peace Prize? Yeah, another example of him outperforming MAGA. They knew the American public deserved to know what was going on, Bowman wrote. With no reporters able to ask questions, it seems the Pentagon leadership will continue to rely on slick social media posts. This is honestly all they have. They really think they've won the propaganda war well enough that the only wing they need for propaganda is like Trump's Truth Social and their Twitter accounts. They literally believe this. They're like, we don't need journalists favorably covering us anymore. Now all we need, we need TikTok videos and the Hegseth posting like edgy fucking VHS remix hardcore nightcore black and white drone footage of a Venezuelan fishing boat getting vaporized, you know, with Slipknot playing over it. That's all we need, you know? Who's more incompetent, Hegseth or RFK? Hegseth, easily. RFK is an insane death cultist, but he's been doing a pretty decent job of getting his message out there. Like, Hegseth is literally like a drunken failure with no personal accomplishments who was elevated exclusively because he was like a square-jawed, you know, brassy military vet who favored Trump quite a bit. RFK has been working to advance his evil agenda for decades, you know? Crazy as he is. Have you seen his tattoos? No, a person whose job it is to cover politics, have not heard about whose tattoos? What tattoos? What are you talking about? I'm sorry, I was being sly there. I am aware of the tattoos. I also you know, you can't be cunty if you misspeak. It actually immediately robs you of your right. Only the conservative OAN signed on. Wait, only OAN? Is that the only one? Only the conservative One American News Network signed on. Its management likely believes it'll have greater access to Trump admin officials by showing its support. Gabrielle Cuccia, a former Pentagon reporter who was fired by OAN earlier this year for writing an online column criticizing Hegseth media policies, told the AP in an interview. Jesus. I mean, yeah, now they really are the One America News, huh? Crazy. Let's see this. Oh, I mean, they have essentially guaranteed that every single one of these news agencies are going to have a beef with the Pentagon. So fucking stupid. See, to get on the side of journalists. They're all very weak-willed, corrupt, and susceptible to flattery, okay? I'm pretty sure, like, you literally, if you take a New York Times reporter out to dinner, you can get them to write whatever you want the next day. That's the main reason they enjoy their job. They love schmoozing. That's the main thing they like. And they rejected it.
Conservative viewers like Fox News hinder them.
Major news organizations are outright rejecting an ultimatum from the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth when it comes to coverage of the Pentagon. Given the choice of signing on to a set of restrictive and vaguely worded rules or losing physical access to the building, virtually every major outlet is refusing to sign tonight. That includes CNN, Reuters, the Associated Press, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, Politico, Newsmax, and many others. Even Hegseth's own former employer, Fox News, said it too will not sign on to these new rules before tonight's deadline. In fact, there is only one media outlet that has accepted.
So the Pentagon's just operating shadow now? Well, basically everything we know from the internal workings of the admin has been through leaked information anyway, and I don't think that's going to change.
These terms that we know of. One America News. According to the new set of rules, soliciting information from Pentagon officials would, quote, not be considered protected activity under the First Amendment. And while journalists found in possession of classified national security information or controlled unclassified documents should discuss those materials with the Pentagon press office prior to publication. In a joint statement from CNN, Fox News, ABC, CBS, and NBC, all the outlets said that these new rules would, quote, put restrictions on journalists' ability to keep the nation and the world informed of important national security issues. The policy is without precedent and threatens core journalistic protections. Yet the president and Hegseth doubled down earlier at the White House.
I think it bothers me to have soldiers and even, high-ranking generals walking around with you guys on their sleeve.
If they sign on to the credentialing, they're not going to try to get soldiers to break the law by giving them classified information. So it's common sense stuff.
You think the reason there were leaks from your Pentagon was because the journalists were compelling those officers to share that info? Oh, with that, now that we've gotten rid of the journalists, there will be no one around to deceive my good old boys from. They would never do that on their own, Oh my, they tricked them. They tricked them, those tricksy journalists.
Mr. President, we're trying to make sure national security is respected, and we're proud of the policy.
My source tonight is Barbara Starr, who spent more than 20 years as CNN's Pentagon correspondent and was a board member of the Pentagon Press Association and is truly one of the best reporters I know. And Barbara, as someone who covered the Pentagon as extensively and deeply as you did and was so respected by those you covered, what would the implications be if news organizations had signed on to this, do you think?
Well, it puts them all at risk of prosecution. What Hegseth is talking about is you cannot solicit, if you will, information from a source, whether it's classified or not classified, unless you have permission, which means you can't go around in the Pentagon and do your job, which is reporting, talking to people, doing what thousands of reporters do in this country every day. He seems to deliberately continue to press the case that reporters are trying to get classified information out of the military. It's not been my experience, and I dare say not those of most of my Pentagon colleagues, that is the case. Classified.
I don't know if you saw this, but Pete is also forcing people to listen to his general speech. Yeah, I saw. Yeah. Pete Hegseth is ordering troops to watch or read his speech last month at Quantico, Virginia, where he declared the woke military is gone, decried fat generals, and ordered women to meet the highest male standards. Yeah, no, it's their daily constitutional, At the Pentagon, you wake up, you do a lap, and then you have to read it like a pamphlet. Isn't it already illegal to report on confidential information? No. Confidentiality doesn't bind citizens; it binds members of the government. The memo obtained by NPR calls for service members to complete the Warrior Ethos tasking, which includes a link to the video and updated policy memorandums. By the end of the month, all commanders must document the completion of the Warrior Ethos tasking in a memorandum for record. They're calling him the least popular defense secretary in human history, and that's a high bar. Jesus Christ. Yeah, no. So in addition to that,
information is behind locked doors in the Pentagon. Reporters have no access to it. And just talking to somebody is not soliciting classified information. It's just not the way it works. And as far as reviewing the information before it's published, he's getting into, I'll leave it to attorneys or lawyers, but he's getting into the world of violating the First Amendment. And that is violating the oath of office.
Well,
all those folks take that oath to defend the Constitution.
Right, and it's talking about going to the press office before publication. That is what outlets do already. When you're writing a story or you're about to report something, you obviously reach out for comment. But the way it was worded, and I read the agreement today, was pretty open to interpretation. But another part of this...
It is worth noting, not that it fucking matters anymore, but it is absolutely a violation of the First Amendment to only issue press passes to journalists who agree to only say what you tell them to say. Yeah, 100%. Like the First Amendment defined broadly 100% would not enable that kind of treatment. But it's happening at the White House too. I mean, that was the reason why AP News sued for the revocation of their press pass in the White House press pool after they refused to call the Gulf of America the Gulf of America.
Is where reporters can go and where they can't, which was already quite restricted at the Pentagon. But I want you to listen to what Secretary Hegseth said about how these new rules would affect that.
Maybe the policy should look like the White House or other military.
Will the media sue the Pentagon? Probably not. They are bought. No, they're 100% going to sue the government over this. Absolutely they are. Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, no, I'm very, very confident that that's going to happen.
Installations where you have to wear a badge that identifies that you're press, or you can't just roam anywhere you want. It used to be, Mr. President, the press could go anywhere, pretty much anywhere in the Pentagon. The most classified area in the world.
Is that true?
No, absolutely not. And he knows it, and he should be telling the president the truth. Reporters, first of all, have worn badges identifying themselves, just like you do at the White House, the State Department, Capitol Hill, for decades. So that has been taken care of. Going anywhere they want? Absolutely not. Several months.
Even though the news has been capitulating to other lawsuits? The only news organization that's capitulated with regards to lawsuits are or ones that are currently engaged in mergers. So you have CBS with the lawsuit from Trump, and they dropped their lawsuit. Recently, they also acquired the Free Press. Paramount, yeah. Like, if they need something from the administration, they play ball. But like, the New York Times didn't capitulate. Trump had to drop that lawsuit for the $50 trillion or whatever, you know? Is Vosh covering the NYC debate tonight? Yes, I am. I'm going to be streaming for another 2 hours in this block, and then I'm going to take a break, and then I'm going to be back at 4 p.m. PT to cover the Mamdani Cuomo-Sliwa debate.
Months ago, Hegseth further restricted where reporters could even walk in the Pentagon. But prior to that, no. They go where they have business to conduct.
What's that in Euro time? There is no such thing as Euro time.
In the morning, but they don't go into classified areas, and they don't go chasing people down in the hallway. Let me make a point about that, however. Over the years, I covered the Pentagon. We often, all of us, ran into the Secretary of Defense or the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs in the hallway, and they would come to the press area to have a chat. You know, hey, what's going on? What are you guys working on? What's up? There was very much this ongoing communication. What Hegseth is about to lose, I don't think he even comprehends. He's about to lose the ability to have communication with millions of Americans who read blogs, read newspapers, tune into TV to get military news, to find out.
The journalist class is a lot like the police in the sense that they're an insular group of elite, distinguished people. I mean elite in a class sense, not like in an intellectual sense, who have high opinions of themselves and tend to be in-group oriented, you know? With the police, even if they are conservative, you still can't really fuck with them. And I think that journalists also, likewise, have to be treated delicately. I think that many people in legacy media have been softballing with Trump because they're sort of complicit to the administration, but they understand still that at least they're able to do their jobs, right? Being like oppositional to Trump is itself a way of, you know, keeping the lights on. Just being kicked out of the Pentagon, I think she's acknowledging the fact that, like, even from their side of things, this is a stupid move, you know?
What's going on, to find out how their tax money's being spent, what the troops are up to, how military families are doing, how women and minorities are doing in the military. He's going to have a tough time really communicating. And that's very different than President Trump, as you know, Caitlin. Mr. Trump likes to talk to the media every day that he's in office. Hegseth almost never talks to the media. And I think behind the scenes, the big question that's being whispered about more and more is, what is Hegseth afraid of? If he's afraid of leaks, go after those he believes are leaking.
Whoa. Hold on, lady.
If he's afraid of not showing the president how tough he is, well, he probably needs to start by telling the truth about what's really going on with the media and the Pentagon and going from there. I think he's about to potentially run into a buzzsaw of trouble because reporters are going to continue to report, whether they're inside the building or not.
I mean, that is true.
It's deadline day.
Hegseth made it clear he is terrified he'll get assassinated like Kirk. Yeah, because which is funny because like nobody actually thinks, like, again, assassinations these are not just these days, always have been like the random smatterings of mentally ill people. They're not exactly like coordinated foreign ops or whatever. Nobody's coming after Hegseth because nobody cares about Hegseth. Honestly, the people most likely to go after him are the officers directly under his command. Like, he's really not doing a lot to ingratiate himself to these elite soldiers. So yeah, I mean, I guess if nothing else, maybe he just felt silly that he was so paranoid over his own potential assassination. So now he's doing everything in his power to ensure that it's likely to happen so that he doesn't feel like he's wasting everyone's time.
For media outlets to sign the Pentagon's new restrictive press access rules. It states that reporters cannot solicit or report on any information the Department of Defense does not authorize.
Yeah, this is an older coverage of the story. Look, I'm really happy that all these news organizations walked. I was surprised that so many of them did, even Newsmax, man. I figured the New York Times and CNN and AP would and stuff like that, but yeah, I'm happy they did. One American News Network. That's the one remaining news network that has Pentagon Press. And I have a feeling, by the way, they're actually going to be the ones with the least information, because if there's an officer in the Pentagon who wants to leak something about the administration, they're not going to go to OAN, the org that would rat them out to Hegseth. They're going to go to anyone else, you know? You're going to be able to see so many fucking photos of like legacy media company journalists just lounging about in the parking lot of the Pentagon, or they're going to be at like every fast food restaurant nearby, you know? All the officers who want to leak information are like, yeah, I want to go to Taco Bell. I'm really, really, really craving some fucking authentic Mexican food. It is pretty funny. Yeah, give me a goddamn Crunchwrap Supreme. The reason those networks walked, including Fox and Newsmax, is because of their lawyers. They're corporate lawyers through and through. They know a legal trap when they see one. I just don't think they want to put themselves in a position where they feel a conflict between, like, doing their job as reporters, and not even, like, for the good of the American people, you know? But they just want to be able to do their job, you know? Like, Fox News does reporting. Bad reporting, but they do reporting. They report on things. They want to be able to do that. They don't want to be put in a position where doing that can get them in trouble with the admin. I think attacking the press is deliberate to speed up incidents that will eventually lead to the invocation of the Insurrection Act. Yeah, but invoking the Insurrection Act wouldn't fix any of these problems for the administration. The Insurrection Act isn't really martial law. The Insurrection Act just gives soldiers the ability to to arrest people. But then you run into the same problems before, right? Where you need federal detention facility space and you need the ability to house them. You need to charge them. And how many federal prosecutors, how many local prosecutors are willing to actually hold these charges? They're not going to be happy with the invocation of the Insurrection Act. It's not the Enabling Act. It doesn't do enough, essentially. Thankfully, we don't have an Enabling Act. If we did have an Enabling Act, it would have to be passed through Congress, and that shit is not happening. Not right now. If Hamas continues to kill people in Gaza, which was not the deal, we will have no choice but to go in and kill them. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Someone had a talk with Trump. Just the other day, Trump was blasé about the whole Hamas potentially killing collaborators thing. And now he's like, doesn't matter. It's just again, it's the last thing anyone told him. I don't expect the ceasefire to hold anyway. Hold on. I've had this in my tabs for a little while because I'm curious about it. CNN spent dusk till dawn. Oh, no, sorry. Dawn till dusk on LA's Skid Row. Here's what life is like. Will you permit a hometown Los Angelian, a Los Angelino, as one might say, if they weren't stupid, to take a look at what the fuck they're talking about here?
You're younger than me, and I'm looking younger.
Warning, disturbing content. YouTube, you wouldn't demonetize a boy wearing glasses, would you? Can't Trump decide unilaterally to do the Insurrection Act if it's under the guise of an emergency or invasion? But you're not understanding. The Insurrection Act only allows the military to conduct arrests. It doesn't really do what the president would need to do to invalidate. Like, it wouldn't stop journalists from reporting on him negatively. You know what I mean? It's not martial law. It doesn't change the law in any way. It doesn't invalidate the First Amendment or the Second or the Third or whatever else. You still wouldn't have to quarter troops in your home. Like, it doesn't do that much, you know? I don't think it would do that much for the administration. I think, if anything, it would cause them problems. If they invoked the Insurrection Act and then they had a bunch of difficulties where, like, National Guardsmen are arresting... For one, have you guys seen any evidence that the National Guard is hyped up about this administration? Because I haven't. I haven't at all. Like, I have not seen... Like, so they seem so reluctant. They're just picking up trash. So they'd be conducting arrests. Maybe. Where are they going to put them? The federal detention facilities are already overfull from ICE. Where are they physically going to put them? And how many charges are going to be brought against them? Like, is it all going to be federal? All of these are going to be federal charges? Like, or because if they're state charges, local prosecutors are not going to go along with it. It all has to be federal charges. So the AGs appointed by Trump are going to, what, like just process that many people? It'd be a bureaucratic nightmare, and a lot of the guardsmen would probably not go along with it. Use the National Guard as free ICE agents and deport them extra legally? They can't do that. That's a deportation. National Guardsmen can't conduct a deportation. They could conduct an arrest. A deportation is like a whole prolonged process. Even if you ignore habeas corpus, it's still a whole thing, you know? They don't have the resources. They're just soldiers, you know? Like, the National Guard, they're just part-time soldiers. They have guns and trucks and, say, tanks and helicopters, but what does that do? Like, meaningfully, what does that do? You know? So that would just be indefinite detention then? Well... ICE has been known to do that. I mean, indefinite till till something happens, I suppose. Indefinite doesn't mean forever.
Guys, you're only about 45 fucking years old. Guys, sir.
Do I actually care about watching this?
Cabbage Patch Doll, Olympic cabbage. In some areas of my life,
we came for a day to find out what it's like to live here, who lives here, and why Skid Row even exists. The origin,
the police.
Train station. Soon, the power washers move in.
It's now like 8:30 in the morning.
Oh,
What's your plan for the day?
Pretty much I read, I keep books. I have a puzzle book. I like to do puzzles. Sometimes I go to the library. Sometimes I get on the bus and I ride out and I think.
How are you? Good morning.
She looks like she's got a little store going.
Yeah, she does. She has a store here. She sells drinks to everyone here.
I remember you.
Yeah,
Where did I see you?
it was at the police station.
Well, then Lincoln, Laura Capello.
That's right.
To trace substantial funds in an annual budget of roughly $2.3 billion.
And people that are honest with me, when we get into their story, I ask them, so when did you start using? And some of them, that's why they came down here, but there's a large percentage.
Dropped off at School on Wheels, which runs an after-school program here.
Where'd you go? Yeah.
School on Wheels is one of the bright spots in an area.
Stanford, they stabbed him.
How are the days? How are the nights? I mean, what's...
Well, I mean, it's a little rough because I got hit in the head with a propane tank. And
You got hit in the
true.
head with
Yeah,
a propane
yeah,
tank.
yeah.
You seem remarkably casual about
Yeah,
it.
well, I'm a gangster. 15 years sober before I relapsed. Relapsed, you know. I was 15 years, I was.
You were 15 years sober, and then after you relapsed, is that when you ended up
Yeah.
on the street?
I came here on purpose. Kind of like it down here. But
What do you love about it?
my friends and family are here. I mean, most of them passed away. Most of them passed away.
What happened that led you to be on the street?
I've battled like mental health issues from a young age, and then COVID, of course. I expended so much energy trying to maintain and keep afloat, and then yeah, the wheels kind of just fell off. And
I've only just met you, but you seem like too gentle a soul to be surviving.
It's Hollywood, you know? I could turn the corner and come back in 10, 15 minutes having psyched myself out in the mirror and splashed a little water on my face, and all of a sudden you're looking at a brand new character. Stay dangerous. If you can't stay safe, stay dangerous.
Couldn't you just move back and live with your mom or your aunt, or?
I self-medicated, and both of my parents are doctors, so there's a lot of friction just in that dynamic alone.
Okay. Mental health is the underlying
Yeesh.
issue.
That's the big issue. Anybody who don't want to go live inside, it's got to be something here. Until we can address the mental health part of this thing, it's an uphill battle. Anytime you see people walk down the street naked with a machete in their hand, you know it's a problem.
It's going to get dark here shortly. I
Naked.
presume we should not be here.
People think after dark, all the ills that happen is from the people who are living here, but it's more of the people who don't live here that
Told
come
you
and
that.
use the people here to do
Like
nefarious.
dealers.
Yeah, dealers, gangs, whatever, thieves, whatever. You know, trafficking of all different sorts.
Do you ever see this place going away?
Can it happen? Yes.
It could literally be done. Like, it's just a matter of will, and there's plenty of money in Los Angeles to do it.
But it seems like it's so far away.
We've been here more than 12 hours. We've got a taste, but not the reality, because we get to go home.
Put them in a house easy. Just build a big roof over Skid Row, and then nobody's homeless. Yeah. Got him. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, what was the section here where they talked about money disappearing? I was curious about that. Hold on.
It found insufficient financial accountability.
23 years.
23 years?
Yeah.
Are you trying to get a permanent house?
Yeah, I'm trying to get a permanent house. The vouchers don't look that good because might not be no funds behind it, you know, you never know.
Billions of dollars are earmarked to fight homelessness in Los Angeles, but a recent audit found insufficient financial accountability led to an inability to trace substantial funds.
Yeah, it's corrupt. It all goes to like slumlords and bureaucrats. This is one of those things that the abundance people would talk about more often if they weren't hacks, which is that a bunch of the money that gets sucked up for public works projects or like housing first policies for homeless people or whatever else, it gets sucked up by like a labyrinthine chain of bureaucratic requirements that can only be satisfied by pouring in like an infinite amount of money into the problem. It does not cost billions of dollars to build like a bunch of affordable housing. It just doesn't. If the government just decided on its own to fund the construction of a bunch of apartment blocks and then ensure that every one of those apartment blocks is like a $500 a month tiny little studio or whatever, they could do that. That would not be difficult for them to do. It's very possible for them to do it. But it has to go through like 17 layers of public-private partnership first. All the contractors have to make money. Yeah, all the lawsuits. Maura Capellum, I saw the first 2 times you linked it.
In an annual budget of roughly $2.3 billion.
Jesus.
What do you do for money to buy food and stuff?
Okay, I recycle. You see all the cans and stuff.
Okay.
Federal judge even considered taking control of the homelessness budget away from officials. Ricky won't move into a shelter.
I don't like being around all.
And by the way, when they say insufficient accountability and nobody knows where the money went, that's also a lie. You could find out where the money went. Everything with a bit of reporting and a bit of investigation, you can find out like every chain of the step. Money doesn't literally disappear. You just followed it like with insufficient dedication. You know? Find out all the contracting firms, all the lawyers, all the bureaucrats, where that money went.
People. I wouldn't want to be in an area with some of the people that's in there because a lot of them are mental.
What do you think should happen? I mean, these people need somewhere to live, right?
No, they need to fucking get them off the drugs.
But we're told by several people that there's a non-profit giving out free crack pipes.
Yo!
I can understand the needles, but they're giving away the stuff to keep the people getting high.
I almost feel you'd have to be taking drugs or drinking alcohol to live here.
You know,
in a way. I mean, I know that sounds weird.
You know, and people that are honest with me, when we get into their story, I ask them, so when did you start using? And some of them, that's why they came down here. But there's a large percentage that said, Paul, I never did drugs. I never stole anything until I got down here. I do things to kill the pain or to try to survive.
Much of
Probably shouldn't be giving homeless people crack pipes. Like the needle thing is the clean needles so they're not like spreading HIV or whatever, but the probably shouldn't be giving homeless people crack pipes. It's probably not. Probably don't need to do that.
LA's homelessness is concentrated here. Officials say the numbers are falling.
They had
We need boarding houses back, man. That's the real boarding houses used to be in every city, every major city in the world, okay? And it was where, like, desperate people, poor students, whatever, like anyone who didn't have the money for anything else. And these were, like, tiny little, I mean, these could be, oftentimes they're multiple people to a room, but nowadays you can make it like a single 400 square foot, like, studio apartment, just pack them in like sardines, and make sure everyone there has to pay no more than, like, $400 a month or whatever. Or, I don't know, free with some, I don't fucking care, whatever. Just make it cheap. Have some way of making sure it helps homeless people and it's not being filled with, like, students who all want to do videos about how they cram all their clothing into the small space they're given. The decline of boarding houses in the US is due to zoning laws. That's why they still exist in Japan. Masaigu, can you just... I need you to do this for me. You need to make correct points without saying Japan good. Because you never do Japan bad in the opposite way. We're never talking about, like, misogyny, and you're like, yeah, misogyny is a huge problem. There are lots of rapists and pedophiles here in Japan. Like, you don't do that, you know? You can do that too? You can mention the Japanese pedophile. Okay, gotcha. I just need you to balance it out a little bit, okay?
Homeless count not long ago, and they said the numbers was going down. We don't believe that the numbers is going down.
According to a recent independent count, the numbers sleeping out on the streets fell significantly in 2 other hotspots last year, Hollywood and Venice, but climbed here on Skid Row.
Great. Yeah, it's pretty bad. The problem is you need to be able to compel mentally ill people into treatment, but nobody wants to do that. I want to do it. Oh, for sure. I'm 100% in favor of like forced. Even Mamdani has said he supports this, of forced detention for habitual addicts. 100% I am. Yeah. It's not like the old days, man. Like back in the 1920s and 1930s, the most shit you could find a person on was like fucking alcohol or whatever. Like the homeless drug addicts were alcoholics, or maybe they had like an opium pipe or something. Nowadays, you I don't know, eat 1 microgram of fentanyl and then you fall face first onto the street and lay there, and all the tourists have to walk over you. It's insane. It's gotten a lot worse. The availability and purity of severity of drug addictions, it's all gotten worse, you know? I'm in favor of compulsive treatment 100%. Well, I agree in spirit. Doesn't that lead to bad things? Well, I don't think it should be federally mandated. It would have to be done as like a local program. But like realistically, a lot of these people are in and out of jails anyway, you know? I would just, if they're gonna spend some time in a tank, I would rather it not be a jail cell. It should be in like a clean white room where somebody in like a you know, smocks is like, here's some water. You know, fucking, do you need a detox or whatever? I don't know. Also called mental asylums? No, mental asylums are meant to be long-term. I'm talking about, like, treatment facilities that are meant to be temporary, you know? We fill up our hospital beds with shit like that. You don't need a hospital for a person who's a drug addict. Like, well, maybe if they've had an overdose, of course, if they've had an overdose. But for a person who's just a habitual addict, they don't need to take up a valuable, expensive hospital bed. You know, they can just, like, be put in, like, a little room for a bit and chill. What are the criteria? I'm not writing the law right now. Look, it's not a crazy thing. Yeah, if a person is like a habitual on the street addict, like, yeah, I'm like, listen, your ability to take control over your own life, I'm compromising it for the sake of the social contract here, you know? Why are free needles good and crack pipes not? You can still spread illness like herpes and maybe even HIV too if their mouth is bleeding. Okay, because it just seems like, I don't know, there's like a sliding scale of utility here, right? Like the needle thing makes sense because otherwise they would just use dirty needles. But I think that people tend to keep their own crack pipes, don't they? Like if they're a crack addict, you probably have the pipe on you. So it feels like it's enabling, I don't know, it just seems like less of a, everyone has herpes anyway, I don't fucking. A lot of non-profit halfway houses charge the state like $200 to do a pee test that costs $8. Yeah, 100%. It needs to be run directly by the state. It's all like graphed the whole way through, you know? I don't have herpes. Now you do. Nah, I'm kidding. I actually don't have it. I know a lot of people do, though. I don't get cold sores. I'm telling you, boarding houses and temporary treatment facilities, and you would be set. Like that would, you could build these cheap in every city, and that would about fix the problem. And I mean like a proper boarding house. I mean you build like a 5-story apartment building, and then you fit like 300 people in there or something. Just cram them in. Not everyone gets a window. Life's hard. Build them cheap, build them plentiful, and then make it so that the people who need them most are the ones who get them first. And you got it, you know? They're not meant to be here permanently. They're meant to be, it's a sturdy room with a heavy lock on the door that only you can access. They're called jails in the US. No, well, you can leave. It's not a jail, you can leave. No windows is not great. I'm just talking about, you know, bottom denominator stuff, okay? I think that most homeless people would probably choose, if they could. Okay, fine. You can have a window. Fine, you can have a window. Fine. It's a jail? It's not a jail! I think it's a good idea, but I don't trust the average employee that would work in this facility to not abuse them. I mean, this shouldn't even, the boarding room shouldn't even have, like, staff. basically. Like the boarding rooms, they're a house that you live in, just a teeny tiny little apartment building room, you know? Like the staff are just there to make sure that no one's getting rowdy or whatever. Are you trolling brothers to jail? Are you trolling me? A jail is a cell that you can't leave. This is a room you can go in and out of freely, and it's your room. The number one thing that homeless people need, or the two number one things, the number one and number two thing that homeless people need, fuck you, is a bed to sleep in under a roof and a place to securely put their stuff. That's it. That right there is like 90% of shit. Okay? They can survive having a communal toilet. They can survive a bunch of stuff, you know. If you put that many homeless people together, it'd be hell and many would prefer the street. But this isn't a homeless shelter. I'm talking about a boarding house, not a homeless shelter. These are separate rooms where you own the room. Well, you don't own it, but you are an occupant of the room. We used to do these all over the place in cities. We just stopped doing it because of those aforementioned zoning requirements. You don't have to make them shared bedrooms like this. But the point is, it's just a bedroom. It's just like a studio. There's no kitchen. The bathrooms are shared. So like a college dorm? Yeah, like a college dorm. The only place where we still do anything like boarding rooms. But yeah, you would have that. Shelters are totally different. Shelters are not like apartments. Shelters have a bunch of restrictive rules. Oftentimes they don't let you in during the day. They're very dehumanizing. The people there are often awful. They can barge into the rooms whenever they want. This would be a residence. Shelters also don't allow pets. Yeah, you have to allow pets as well. A lot of homeless people have dogs. Dorms I've been to have been really dehumanizing and have had 4 people in one room. Well, this would be 1 person per 1 room. I mean, if you want to go in as a couple, I guess you can. But these would be 1 person per room. Anyway, like this, it's just basic housing first stuff. Just slam them in there, slap them in, fill it like sardines in a can, and then you get treatment facilities, temporary treatment facilities, and you got it. You got it. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, folks. Wouldn't it be better to just tear down the walls and live communally? Yeah, why not tear down the roof? Then you can have the innate joy and relaxation of living on the street. So a homeless shelter, lol? No. Oh, wait, I think you were replying to them, not to me. It is kind of crazy that a lot of people don't understand the difference between a studio apartment, a homeless shelter, a boarding house, and a jail, though. Like, I guess all of you just think of, like, small room equals prison. I don't know where the fuck you live out in suburbia, but, hostel? Hostels also have their own rules. Permanent address is also huge. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. You see how a town in Canada tried to buy tiny homes for the homeless and got grifted? What?
Hamilton, Canada, what are you up to, bud?
This is not a format of video that I'm particularly keen on.
Not great. We're trying to fight homelessness, and it is not going well.
What happened?
So we wanted to help 80 people by buying 40 tiny homes from an indigenous company, and then we bought those 40 tiny homes for $35,000 a piece. Little problem, we didn't check if it was an indigenous company. Doesn't appear to be at all. Also, those...
Why is he talking like this? Is this what people like these days?
$35,000 tiny homes. Apparently, you can buy them on Alibaba for $1,600 a piece.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, so you don't want us to support indigenous businesses?
No, just if you want to buy from indigenous businesses, check.
Anyway, a lot of the sheds still haven't arrived, even though we paid over a 2,000% markup on it.
You spent $1.4 million on sheds.
I can do math. I can do math. I can do math. I can do math.
Sheds that are worth 60.
You don't want to help the unhoused?
Okay, yeah, okay. Thank you. This was not... Please, in the future, don't present this to me in this format. Bosch sounds good, but like that other chatter said, shelters are miserable places because they quickly dissolve into a sterile place with rigid rules built incident by incident. The same would happen here. Okay, listen. No, it wouldn't, because shelters have specific rules on the rooms in the shelter. The boarding rooms that I'm talking about, this house that I'm describing, this facility, is literally just an apartment. It's just an apartment. There are no like extra rules that they would have legal permission to impose on people. It's not like a shelter or what. They couldn't barge into your room. They can't mandate you do or don't do anything. It would just be an apartment with a bunch of small rooms. No one can force you to pray. No one can demand you show up for daily breakfast or anything. It's just a house. And this is just for homeless people? I mean, anyone who needs it, I suppose. Like college dorms. Am I looping right now? Am I going back? Where am I? Hello? Maybe occasionally a caseworker comes by and that's it. I think you could probably reasonably impose like some rules to make sure there aren't people who are super mentally ill who are like pissing all over the walls or whatever. There were probably some like provisions or expectations, but I would expect all of this to be paid for and maintained by the state. And if you did it properly, like imagine you had an apartment building that had 300 or 480 people living in it. How much reasonably do you think that would cost, assuming that the government worked at like on price contractor agreements? You know what I mean? Like they're not paying inflated government prices. They're just operating as they would if they were a regular business, you know? I don't think it would even be that much. Could be expensive, bearing in mind maintenance. Well, you know what's also expensive? Having a bunch of homeless people turn some of the potentially most expensive downtown blocks of Hollywood and downtown Los Angeles into shitholes because the city doesn't care enough about them to, like, the amount that it would cost to house all these people is significantly less than the property values that these areas would be in Skid Row, East Hollywood, and so on, if they were taken care of properly. So from a monetary perspective, it still works out in our favor. Yes, it also does reduce the load in public welfare systems. And there will still be some homeless people who are too crazy and can't be helped, and for them we can put them in the scary asylum up on the hill that lightning is always flashing behind, okay? Straight jacket and all? Yeah, sure. Doesn't need to be scary? It can be scary. It's fine if it's scary. It doesn't matter if it's scary. I think it needs to be scary. Okay, it needs to be scary. All right, let me look at these tabs. DOJ brings first Antifa-related terrorism charges in Texas ICE attack. Texas ICE attack? Didn't that guy kill himself? Oh, this is a different attack, not the sniper. Terrorism-related charges. Providing material support for terrorism, attempting to murder federal assisting officers, discharging firearms during attempted murders. For the first time ever, the FBI has arrested anarchist violent extremists and charged these Antifa-aligned individuals with material support to terrorism, the FBI Director Kash Patel said in a statement. Doesn't seem that significant. This isn't a huge broach of existing law. Doesn't seem like a big deal.
Over the past few months, FBI offices in all 50 states made crushing violent crime a top enforcement priority.
In just a 3-month span.
General video. Okay. Very good. Very good. All right, hold on. Oh my God. How did the number of tabs increase when I wasn't looking? What the hell? Okay, we should do this in order of importance. First of all, the debate is tonight.
on to New York. You want to be the mayor of New York City, which, you know, last night I ChatGPT'd, where is the capitalist and global finance center of the world? And it said New York City, which made me feel good as someone who loves New York City. Is that a moniker that you're proud of and one that you want to continue for this city?
That fucking rules. What a great opener. Do you guys notice, again, I'm paraphrasing a tweet. Did you guys notice that lately when looking at like favorability ratings or like CNN analyses of data, rather than looking at polling aggregate, we're looking at like poly market odds? We saw that recently with the likelihood of the Democrats retaking the House in 2026, where rather than it being like popularity of the Democrats or estimated like, you know, Nate Silver 538 whatever, it's instead like betting odds basically. Sheesh.
We should be proud of it, and I will also say that that's one thing you have in common with Andrew Cuomo, because he also uses ChatGPT to answer many questions, including how to actually resolve the housing crisis in the city.
Good.
And it's time that we are not only proud of us being the financial capital, the cultural capital, but also we should make it a capital of where working people can afford to live in this city. Because right now what we're seeing is that 1 in 4 New Yorkers are being priced out of the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world.
That's absolutely true. One of the things that's also true is that JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs have moved major operations to Texas. They've not abandoned New York, but they're hedging their bets on New York because of the increased taxes that they see coming if you become mayor. So when they do that, jobs move out of the city as well. So how does that help affordability? If
I think we caught this section in a small clip that we saw the other day, didn't we? This beginning bit.
People in the city don't have the jobs that they once had here.
Well, fund universal childcare, making buses fast and free.
Again, the fact that Kathy Hochul has signed off on Mamdani's proposal to make childcare free is insane and such a boon to him. It was probably the most unrealistic, unlikely to happen major proposal that he advocated for. The fact that the governor has signaled support for it, meaning that potentially, you know, Albany can open the coffers up, that's pretty good.
Said that the 2 clear ways to do so, raising personal income taxes on the top 1% by 2%, and raising the corporate tax to match that of New Jersey's corporate tax of 11.5%. Now, if there are other ways to raise this money to fund this agenda, the most important thing is that we fund the agenda. I still think that these are the most important and clear ways we can do it, and I'm thankful to have Governor Hochul's support in this race, and the fact that she said we have a shared commitment to delivering universal child care for New Yorkers across the city and the state.
I think that's great. I think everybody would love to have free health care and free buses and all these things, but the question is, how do you pay for it? The city's already in debt. The governor says no to new taxes. Like Margaret Thatcher said, you know, socialism's great until you run out of everyone else's money, other people's money.
Well, what Andrew Cuomo said is that if he had $959 million, he'd give it to Elon Musk in tax credits, because that's exactly.
Ooh. 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 We're never getting another one like him, man. Jesus Christ, generational.
What he did. And I bring that up to you to say that it's often a question of whether you have the willingness to spend that money to benefit working class people, not where that money is in the first place.
So what would you cut? What would you draw from to do it?
I don't think we have to cut. I've spoken about raising taxes on the wealthiest. And frankly, this is an issue that we have here in New York City, and frankly, even across this country. When I've spoken to Trump voters right here in New York City, Hillside Avenue in Queens, Fordham Road in the Bronx, they've told me it was cost of living that drove them to vote for Donald Trump. They've told me it was a promise of a lower actual, whether it be cheaper groceries, whether it be childcare, whether it be rent.
Right.
And what we're seeing time and time again is we're more focused on the question of billionaires and the most profitable corporations than we are on people who can't even afford to make ends meet in this city.
Well, we know affordability is an issue, and I think that all politicians are getting to an understanding of that, and I think that you've done a lot, actually, to bring people's attention to that issue. Let's take a look at the free buses issue just for a moment, because I know you said that the pilot project that you did was one of the biggest accomplishments of being an assemblyman. The Washington Post said this in an editorial about this. Quality inevitably declines.
Is it just me, or does she seem a little bit nervous?
When a service is offered for free. Vagrants and drug addicts would camp out all day on New York's buses, especially in the winter. Parents would grow afraid to let their children ride alone. Wealthier residents would find another way to get around, but poor New Yorkers who depend on the bus would suffer the most. What do you say to that? Do you agree with that?
Well, I would say that they should actually look at the report of the 5 free buses we delivered across New York City. We didn't see an increase in homelessness. We did see an increase in New Yorkers riding the bus. We did see a decrease in assaults on bus drivers by 38.9%. And we also saw a decrease in New Yorkers who were having to take a cab or take their own car. They were actually getting on the bus. More than 10% of new riders were doing so. That's why we care so deeply about this, because of the fact that it can actually deliver economic, public safety, and even congestion relief to New Yorkers who are looking to take these buses.
I know that you're turning 34 on Saturday, and I want to talk about your qualifications. You know, some say you have never run.
Did you guys see the fucking video that he put out, by the way? His birthday video? God, he's so funny. He's so good.
Good morning. I know some of you have expressed concerns about my age. You're worried about a 33-year-old becoming mayor of New York City. And I want you to know I hear you. That's why this weekend I'll be making a change. I'm turning 34, and I'm committing that for every single day from here on out, I will grow older. It's not something I ever wanted to do, but I know it matters to you, so I am. Get that out of here. Let's cut to the chase. The best birthday gift you could give me is to come on out and canvass. This is the last weekend before early voting starts on Saturday, October 25th. So head to ZahranForNYC.com/birthday, sign up for a canvass, bring your friend, bring a date, bring your parents, bring anyone you know. Because the best gift is to beat Andrew Cuomo a second time. And the only way we can do that is if we do it together. So let's go knock.
He's so goddamn good. He's so goddamn good.
On a business in your life. So I'm curious, and President Trump said that you never worked a day in your life. You worked as an assemblyman, and you've had other positions in the government. But what qualifies you from your life experience to run the largest city in the country?
You know, I want to take this moment because you spoke about President Trump, and he may be watching right now, and I just want to speak directly to the president, which is that I will not be a mayor like Mayor Adams who will call you to figure out how to stay out of jail. I won't be a disgraced governor like Andrew Cuomo who will call you to ask how to win this election. I can do those things on my own. I will, however, be a mayor who is ready to speak at any time to lower the cost of living. That's the way that I'm going to lead this city. That's the partnership I want to build, not only with Washington, D.C., but anyone across this country. I think it's important because too often the focus on the needs of working class Americans, working class New Yorkers are put to the side as we talk more and more about the very kinds of corrupt politicians like Andrew Cuomo that delivered us into this kind of crisis.
Will you turn into a Zaran Stan account when he wins? Am I not already a Zaran Stan account? I feel like, I don't know, I feel like my commentary has gone pretty one way with the guy, you know? Not a lot of varied, you know, reception here. He's pretty much on the ball 24/7. It's fucking crazy. We do all need to be his strongest warriors. We do, because I'm already seeing it on Twitter. You know, as he gets closer and closer to winning, there are more and more lefties who are performatively disavowing him because it's like cringe and liberal to be pro Mamdani or whatever. You know, he has not called America caca. He has not said that we should nuke Israel. He has not, you know, declared that he will end capitalism single-handedly. So, like, supporting him is a capitulation, essentially. Many people are allergic to victory. We must not be.
So the question I asked you was what specifically in your background gives you the confidence that you can run a $115 billion budget and run this city specifically from your personal experience and your background?
I've been a state assembly member here in New York City. I've represented 130,000 people in Queens. And in the time that I've done so, I've not only delivered more than $100 million in increased bus and subway service, I've also secured $500 million in debt relief for working class taxi drivers. President Trump knows this. New Yorkers know this across the 5 boroughs. Taxis, as we're looking at them right here, are such a part of what we love about this city. And yet those same drivers were sold a lie about a ticket to the middle class if they bought a medallion. I stood with those drivers. I organized with those drivers. I went on a 15-day hunger strike with those drivers, and we secured $500 million in debt relief that allows those drivers to do more than just think about struggle.
How many employees would you be overseeing in the New York City government?
More than 300,000.
That's a lot of people. But thank you for answering the question. I know that you want to stimulate small business in the city, and we all walk around the city that we love, and we see a lot of empty.
The only thing he said that is questionable was that he would have Zionists in his mayoral cabinet. Yeah, because like to say otherwise would be incredibly stupid. Zionist is like a really nebulously defined term to a lot of people, and it encompasses people who support Netanyahu uncritically to people who, like, you know, don't want to see all Jews expelled from the Middle East. He's not an online debate warrior. He's a politician, and he's talking to a very large group of people. If he said, yeah, no, there will be no Zionists in our government, especially at a time when Zionist and Jewish are being conflated very dishonestly by the right wing and then by the Democrats. I mean, that would be, it would just be like a massive news story that would detract from his momentum for no reason. It would accomplish nothing. It would only hurt him, and he hasn't capitulated on anything ideologically.
Storefronts. So give me your plan on how you would do that.
You know, I've spoken to a lot of New Yorkers for whom their aspiration, their dream is in that small business. And I've told them that we are going to make it easier to not only open it, but keep it open. We're going to cut fines and fees by 50%. Because as you said, we have a city government that has a $116 billion budget. It's not funded by charging a restaurant $25 a year for the right to sell a frozen dessert. We're going to streamline the regulations and rules that these small businesses have to adhere to. Because today, if you want to open up a barbershop, you have to fill out 24 forms, go to 7 agencies, 12 in-person activities. And furthermore, we're going to have a mom and pop czar, someone that'll help these businesses navigate through this. Because while we are holding these kinds of businesses to these kinds of rules, we're letting the most profitable corporations walk all over us here in New York City. And it's part of the problem where so many New Yorkers look around at the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world and asking themselves, there's all this money, why can't I afford $2.90 to even ride the bus?
So let me just quick question on that, and I want to get to public safety because it's obviously another big issue for New Yorkers. So a lot of individuals in this city pay more than 50% of their income in taxes. When you talk about a fair share, how much more than, what is the fair share? What's the number?
I've said that we should increase personal income taxes by 2%.
Is fair?
And my point is this.
Give up more than half of your income. That's
if you're making $1 million in New York City, or more than that, you can afford to pay 2% more. And the reasons you can afford to do so is because that money will be used to better your quality of life as well.
Yeah.
Because when I speak to the wealthiest New Yorkers, I hear concerns about the cleanliness of the city, the quality of life in the city, questions of public safety. This money is the money that will be used to deliver on those things so that we can ensure that we have a return on investment for all of the money that we are raising and spending right here across the 5 boroughs.
It's such a race to the bottom, man. Like, America is so fucking perverse. I bet you that if you asked wealthy people in Europe, people who live in like Milan, Rome, Barcelona, London, Paris, whatever, you know, Lyon, if you met with wealthy people there and you said like, hey, how would you feel about getting a 2% cut to your taxes, but your cities would all turn into like disgusting shitholes, like the worst parts of American cities, you know? I would be willing to bet that most people there would understand like, yeah, I am wealthy, I am fine. A tiny portion of my income going towards making the city that I live in beautiful, sign me up. But we have this debate over here. It's insane, you know? I think that like so much of being wealthy in America is trying to create a bubble society where you no longer have to interact with anything around you. Like to a wealthy person, the city you live in is just a collection of venues and the houses of people that you like, and everything else is like the dirty street you have to wade through. You know, it's one of the reasons why wealthy people never engage in beautification projects anymore. You don't have like your Rockefellers or your Carnegies being like, to dedicate, you know, my wealth to my own glory and honor, I will build a big, pretty building here because, you know, and all the poor people will walk by it and go, wow, what a generous man I must be. But nowadays that doesn't fucking happen because wealthy people don't even see cities like that as a thing to be beautified. They just see it as like a place where the places they go to are.
I want to talk to you about public safety and your relationship with the police. So just in terms of public safety, I want to go to an example first, because I hear from people that they don't feel safe walking home at night. There's drug addicts on the street, you know, right around the corner here. You can walk around the...
Always, always, always how people feel and not the actual crime data. Always, always, always. How do people feel? How do they feel?
corner and see people shooting up. A lot of garbage on the streets right now. The subway is something that people are really concerned about. Last week, 64-year-old Nicola Tanzi, who was a church leader, a pillar in his community, was brutally beaten to death. I tried to watch this video in preparation. It's very hard to watch. In a subway station in Brooklyn, 25-year-old David Mazarregos had a 20-inch sword. He's the suspect in this case. He was out. They lowered his bail so that he could get out. He was already waiting a trial for attacking someone in Chelsea. 33 past arrests. You were in favor of bail reform. Does that make you want to change your mind or think twice about reversing that?
This is a horrific incident, and it's the same video that I saw. And it's one that horrifies New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs, and it's completely unacceptable. And what it makes me think about is the necessity of providing public safety in our New York City subway system and across the 5 boroughs. Yeah. And also, how do we end...
Why would that change his mind? Because this is how, like, the average person operates, and this is what Fox News peddles to, right? Oh, you had, like, a policy position? Here's a scary story. How do you feel now? It's how most people operate.
The revolving door, because when you look further into the case of whether this individual or so many individuals, especially those suffering from mental health issues, what we find is so often the only mental health system that we have that's functioning in the city is Rikers Island. 40% of the incarcerated population there are suffering from serious mental illness. Why was he on the street is the question. Why was he on the street? Because we have a broken system.
They lowered his bail. He had a bail he couldn't pay. Then they lowered the bail, and then he could pay it. This is, imagine if you're this family. I mean, and they look at 33 prior arrests, and why? Why was this man on the street? What would stop him in your administration from being on the street?
Because what we would do is actually address the systemic problems that would ensure that someone who goes through the system this many times is actually... his issues are addressed, the services are provided. Right now, all we have is going in and out.
I do think that he should he should have stronger language on this, because this is one of the big things the Democrats have been fucking up on consistently, which is that the only real response here is a guy who's been arrested 33 times, was let out in the street, then committed a crime again. The only real response there is, we're going to try to build these systems to actually help these people with their problems. But also, if you've been arrested that many times, you should just go in the slammer, you know? You should just, like, yeah, obviously that guy should not have been let out, you know? If bail reform is allowing these habitually violent people to go back out onto the street, then it should be unreformed, or at least the reform should be adjusted. No, he doesn't need to agree with their framing, but, like, there is an underlying... Because the implication of what he's saying here is, well, to a guy like me, if I was mayor, 33 times would have been enough, you know? If I was mayor and I built up these institutions that would have taken him in, he would have been let out still, but he would have been fine by then. And I think a lot of people wouldn't buy that.
Especially when it comes to mental health. I'll give you an example.
Where would he be in your world? Where would he be? In a mental institution?
He would actually be getting services from the first time that he was arrested, as opposed to having to go through them 33 times. If you look at the New York Times, they did an investigation on 1,000 different incidents of violent crime in the city tied to mental health episodes. Yeah. They found that so many of those same New Yorkers were failed by the interactions they had with the city when they went for help, for mental health assistance. And that failure is a blight, it is a stain on our city, and it's a failure that I'm looking to fix by actually transforming this with the only comprehensive plan for public safety of any of the candidates. Because what we are going to do is put out a plan and a proposal that we have shared with New Yorkers to create the Department of Community Safety that would bring together all of these pre-existing silos that address mental health crisis, that address homelessness into one department, provide it with the funding necessary, and actually address this crisis.
Where do these people go, though, is my question.
It isn't bail reform, it's plea deals. There's a number of things that contribute to this problem. There's a bunch of stuff that goes into it, 100%. It's like a very multi-variable issue, you know? I just think that, like, one of the things the Democrats could do that would really help shore them up, especially in local elections, would be for them to go, enough is enough, this is ridiculous. In every major city, like, 90% of the violent crime is being committed by, like, fucking John Criminal over here. It's like 5 people doing it. You know, they should just go into jail forever. And maybe they can get some treatment that'll fix them or whatever. But in my opinion, and you'll pardon me for being unsympathetic, after a man has, you know, hacked the family to death with a machete, I'm just not that concerned about his rehabilitation, you know?
question. Are you going to put them in a mental institution so they can be taken care of? Or are you going to leave them at home on medication? What's the plan?
There's a plan right now that allows for involuntary confinement, which I think should be a last resort because of the fact that when you look at the actual results, this is something that so often doesn't actually have what has been spoken about. But what we have today that actually works for New Yorkers with serious mental illness, there are things like Fountain House. This is a clubhouse model, peer-led rehabilitative treatment for New Yorkers with serious mental illness. It costs $4,000 to have someone in Fountain House for a year. That's the cost of being on Rikers for 3 days. And what we see, however, is that those services, they increase employment by 50%, they reduce hospitalization by up to 45%, and they actually reduce the cost of healthcare as well for those same New Yorkers. This is what we're looking at. This is why we say that Rikers is broken, the system is broken.
Was he convicted of 33 crimes? Hold on, let me check. Hold on. Okay. You only said it 3 times. No. He wasn't convicted 33 times, but in a lot of these cases where you have habitually violent people who keep getting let out in the street over and over after arrest, these are people who are obviously violent and mentally ill. I've seen them in LA, I've seen them in Seattle. There's a type of them, and they exist in basically every major city. These are very mentally fucked people. They are not good people. They are very dangerous, and it's easy to identify that they are dangerous. It's not like we're not really talking about edge cases. You know, it is absurd that these people are allowed to continue walking the streets, and it is a misuse. It is like a naive oversight of our bail and our plea bargain systems that allow it to happen. You know. For all the 33 times for violent crime. I don't know. We're talking about a random person brought up. I'm just telling you that these people exist. It's also absurd to put them in jail if they're mentally ill. Well, no. I mean, if they committed crimes. I mean, it really depends on the mental illness. Numerically, these people themselves are the edge case. They are exceptions presented as the norm. Yeah, but like, they're so prolific. They're so violent and prolific on their own that they're overrepresented. Right, but you can't just keep them locked up because they may do what he did? Well, I mean, you can. They're dangerous. How do you enforce that in a way that doesn't lead to massive overreach? Who was the fucking person? Was it North Carolina? Train, murder, North Carolina. That one. The one the right... the one the right is bigly mad about. In Charlotte. Yeah, okay. Who was the murderer? DeCarlos Brown Jr. Okay, hold on. Prior arrests. Was it a train? It was a subway. The 34-year-old I've donated before. Suspect DeCarlos DeJuan Brown Jr. Had been arrested 14 times in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina before the stabbing with criminal charges dating back to 2007. On April 11th, 2014, he was convicted of breaking and entering. While on probation, he was arrested for armed robbery and possession of a firearm by a felon. I don't know how the fuck you do an armed robbery when you're on probation, and that's not like 30 years in jail. That's insane. Brown was convicted of armed robbery and incarcerated in state prison from 2015 to September 2020, just 5 years. Upon release, he initially lived with his family, but his mother told ABC News he was diagnosed with schizophrenia at this point and displayed violent behavior at home. His mother said that she had sought involuntary confinement, but it was denied. The AP reported that involuntary commitments are difficult to obtain unless a court finds the person to be dangerous, which he obviously was. North Carolina reduced the capacity of state hospitals. In the early 2000s, the average wait time for a psychiatric bed was 16 days in 2024. After Brown stopped taking psychiatric medication, his mother took him to a homeless shelter. In January 2015, he repeatedly called 911, not 911, about a man-made material inside him that was controlling his body. He was charged with misuse of 911 and released without bond. I feel like at some point during this, someone at somewhere in government probably should have been like, this guy is dangerous. We should probably, like, you know, do something about it. Like, she literally sought involuntary confinement and didn't get it. That's crazy. Like, obviously this guy should have been confined. He's clearly a danger to himself and others. And then he murdered a woman. I want to know more about the other arrests. Like, they only list the notable ones here. Anyway, I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that I think that, like, there is a point where you have to put your foot down and say, like, yeah, people this dangerous just shouldn't be allowed out in the street, obviously. You know, you can do whatever you want. You can arrest them, you can do involuntary confinement, but, you know. The Seattle the Seattle stabbing guy, the one who we talked about a couple of times because he's the go-to example that I think of because he was like a recent example. In my mind, he had like 50 prior arrests or something. Yeah, this fucking guy. Roland Lee. Roland Lee, 37, appeared in court Wednesday where he made an outburst declaring, quote, "I stand with Israel united in Christ." Okay, well, I didn't know that about him. So, there you go. Dangerous Zionist militants. Look at this. Seattle mass stabbing suspect charge has 9 felonies in last decade. Felonies! Convictions! How are you on the street? Yes, Vosh, these people need help. Yeah, no shit, but they shouldn't be on the street. Obviously, they shouldn't be on the street. Lee is tied to several other stabbings that occurred in the area a day prior. That's the same spree. Republicans act like it's a Democrat-caused problem, though. I think that it's... I think to an extent there's some truth to that. Because it's these, like, most big cities are run by Democrats, and it is often like leniency with regards to the specifics of charging and like habitual incarceration that cause it. I think a lot of the people who put forward these like rules with bond and bail and so on, they I don't know, they don't think of the worst case scenarios. It's not a Democrat problem, it's a Republican, it's an American problem. Republicans would be better. No, I think Republicans would actually probably permanently lock up the black man with 9 felonies in a decade. This is a relatively recent problem. Like, I mean, it didn't used to be this bad. I don't think I can agree with using arrest records for sentencing. What about conviction records? The average jail stay in NYC has increased by 136% over the past 2 decades, from 44 days to 104 days. There's a reason they are letting people out on bail. Yeah, I mean, that's probably a huge part of it, though. You'd think people like this would be the highest priority. Either way, it's definitely city mismanagement, for which Democrats are getting blamed, you know? I want to know more about that guy's prior felonies, but I'm not seeing anything in the news, and I don't want to go digging that hard. Louisiana and Missouri have twice and triple the murder rate per capita of Chicago. Why aren't they deploying troops there? Why are you acting that I'm a Republican? Why are you, what are you implying when you say that? I've made that point. I'm just saying, I've made that argument. I don't understand what the implication is. Why the fuck can't I find anything about this guy's prior record? This is so frustrating. You did say Republicans would be better at locking up violent offenders, as if they don't also let them get out on bail. I feel like, yes, Republicans are probably more likely to indefinitely lock up habitually violent black people. Yeah, that is probably true. You can take from that whatever you want, but that is probably, that I'm guessing that probably fits within their skill set. You know, if you Venn diagrammed all the things that they know and know how to do. Does this talk about their fucking records?
The man arrested in connection to a stabbing spree in Seattle appeared in court today. Bail is now set at $2 million for suspect Roland Lee. Police calling this crime a random act of violence, with at least 5 people stabbed yesterday in the Chinatown International District. Good evening, and thanks for joining us for Fox 13 News at 5. I'm Frankie Thompson. While our cameras were able to film today's hearing, we're not allowed to show his face. The judge ruling in the defense's favor, citing the defendant's right to a fair trial, saying their identity is essential in this case to not spoil a jury. Here's Fox 13's Shira Matsuzawa.
Stabbed 5 people in a matter of minutes.
Times in the back, a nation for at least 5 other stabbings in the area.
It's absolutely appropriate. A factor because
nobody's talking about the prior record. Check out the loop puncher. Dude literally just goes around downtown Chicago punching old ladies. Fucking based alert. Serial puncher Chicago, Derek Rucker, charged with 6 felonies, held in custody. A long rap sheet. There are questions about why more wasn't done by authorities to prevent the attacks. 6 felony charges for aggravated batteries against women and a police officer. Most recent arrest came after he struck a 44-year-old woman in the face. Based alert. Sorry, it's not based. It's not based at all. His criminal history, which dates back to 2006, is comprised of mostly misdemeanors and charges ranging from battery and assault to trespassing and theft. Sometimes you just gotta throw the bad apple in the trash, man. I'm sorry. I wonder, it's like a misappropriation of empathy to an extent when you talk about stuff like this, and people act like the problem with the criminal justice system is that it's overly punitive to people like this rather than overly punitive to everyone else, you know? Like, there are people serving years in jail for having weed or for like a bar fight or whatever. These are people who have demonstrated lifelong violent tendencies. Genuine question, what's the difference between what you're saying and Anna Kasparian's leaving the left crash out on crime? Well, I'm not leaving the left or having a crash out. What Anna Kasparian was saying about how overly lenient judges and prosecutors allow for this sort of thing to happen was correct. And I even talked with her in DMs about that. I asked her what her perspective... This was before she did the full leaving the left thing. But I DM'd her and asked her, like if she could explain her position to me a bit better, because I didn't want to join in the public condemnation. And she explained it to me in a way that I thought was... I didn't agree with everything she said, but I think there's a nugget of truth in there, you know? But then she did a bunch of other stuff, and now she's fucking Happy Merchant posting, so, you know. That's what you can say. The police report in that case details Rucker spitting on the officer arresting him after he assaulted a 62-year-old man with a belt and stick, cutting his head. Police said at the time they charged him with a misdemeanor because they couldn't reach his victim. What? He was arrested at 1 o'clock and then approved a misdemeanor charge at 6 o'clock that night? They didn't even look? He was on felony probation at the time for assaulting a nurse in a hospital months before? What the fuck? It boggles the mind. Sounds like lazy cops. This does. Yeah, if anything, we should be blaming the cops for it. That's fucking crazy. Yeah, we caught this guy belting a 64-year-old man in the back of the head, and he was on probation after assaulting a nurse? But we're just going to give him a misdemeanor charge? You should put his ass in the device. He should be breaking rocks with a pickaxe in a field. The article says the police didn't refer a lot of these arrests to the prosecutor when they should have. That's fucking insane. What, just because they're lazy? They didn't want to do the paperwork? They didn't notify the state's attorney. Okay.
New information about that's the first 2006.
Jesus fucking Christ. Maybe the police aren't racist. Can you imagine them not forwarding this to the prosecutor?
Detained following that court hearing. Charges ranging from battery and assault to trespassing and theft.
They got the wokest officer on the goddamn force who found him assaulting that old guy that day.
Mugshots.
The craziest thing is that in all of these mugshots, he looks exactly the same. Like they all got him on sequential days. It's not even like, it's like, here's a lifetime of crime. We only fit in the mugshots we could from the beginning of the year onward.
Dating back to 2006. Take a look at
These mugshots do not date back to 2006, okay? He looks the fucking same in all those pictures.
Screen and you'll see the lengthy criminal charging history of 37-year-old Derek Rucker. In court today, facing 5 felony charges for aggravated batteries against women and a police officer. Rucker was arrested Thursday on State Street after police say he struck a 44-year-old woman in the face. The scenes on your screen, the other incidents police say Rucker is behind the past few weeks. Police say he assaulted a Chicago police officer, punched a woman in the face with a closed fist, knocking her to the ground, spit on a woman, and punched a woman in the back of the head on a CTA platform. Video posted on TikTok and obtained by the Chicago Tribune shows police arrest.
I know we were watching a Mamdani interview. The only point that I'm making is I think it's all well and good to say we are going to improve these systems so that these mentally ill people get the help they need. But I think you also have to say, but yeah, if dudes are still like this, you have to throw them in the pit. I think you need to say both because there will always be people like this. And what happens if your improvement to the systems doesn't like fix everyone and there are still people like this? You have to say like, no, it's ridiculous that they're out on the street. Like assuming all of that fails, there's no fucking way somebody like this should be out in the street.
Rucker, the man in the blue, in that incident the end of last month.
This person shouldn't be on the street.
Why? CBS News Chicago legal analyst Irv Miller pointing to a misdemeanor from November of last year. A misdemeanor he says should have been charged as a felony.
They knew at that time they did at least 30 arrests.
The police report from that case detailing Rucker spitting on the police officer arresting him after he assaulted a 62-year-old man with a belt and stick, cutting his head. Police said at the time they charged him with a misdemeanor because they couldn't reach his victim. When I asked Chicago police about that,
they didn't even try. They only spent 5 hours. Also, that wouldn't prevent you from a felony.
Today, they reiterated they couldn't reach the victim, but
The problem with that is he was arrested at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and they approved the misdemeanor charge at 6 o'clock at night, and that's not really a lot of time to look for somebody that's the victim of a serious crime.
And get this, Rucker was on felony probation at the time for assaulting a nurse in the hospital months before. Miller says police should have notified the state's attorney and sought felony charges, telling me these cases all preventable.
If he would have been charged.
Yeah, it's pretty upsetting, to be honest. You can balance your desire for a more just carceral system with your belief that for some fucking reason a bunch of big cities are just letting this shit slide and letting it happen over and over again due to systemic failure at like every level, you know. Anyway, let's finish the fucking Mamdani interview.
You can just see people who are suffering up and down 8th Avenue, just as one example. And I hope we'll have a chance to talk more about that next time. But I don't want you to leave without me asking you about your relationship with the police, because obviously this is a big issue. You said in the past, I almost don't need to go through it, it's been said many times, but that you called the police force racist, said they were a major threat to public safety, called them wicked.
They are, because they keep letting those people walk, man. I'm coming at this from a new angle now. Yeah, ACAB, because they let that fucking guy stay out in the street.
And corrupt. And now the report that you apologized to 24 members of the NYPD. What did you say to them?
I apologized for the language that I used, and I spoke to them about the fact that I want to work with them to deliver public safety. Because what we're seeing in the city right now is we're asking officers to do nearly everything we can think of. We used to ask officers to focus on serious crimes. Now we're asking them to focus also on the mental health crisis, to focus also on homelessness. In 1 year alone, the NYPD receives 200,000 mental health calls. In 1 year.
Yeah, and you know what they told me? That 1 out of 3 of those, the person has, they're very, very dangerous interactions. You're going to send a social worker in there?
You can always have a police officer actually come to address that. But look, you're saying 1 out of 3. 2 out of 3 times, if you don't need the police and you're sending them to do that, then why aren't you sending them to respond to shootings and murders? 5, 6 years ago, the response time for officers was closer to 10 minutes. Now it's closer to 16 minutes. New Yorkers deserve a police department that is asked to do the things that it can possibly do, not one that covers the failures of every break in the social safety net.
So police officers that I spoke to, they don't want a behind closed doors apology. They want a broad public apology for the things that you suggested about them. Will you do that right now?
Absolutely. I'll apologize to police officers right here, because this is the apology that I've been sharing with many rank and file officers. And I apologize because of the fact that I'm looking to work with these officers, and I know that these officers, these men and women who serve in the NYPD, they put their lives on the line every single day. And I will be a mayor that
What changed your mind about it?
You know, I moved to the city when I was 7 years old. Yeah. I grew up here. And 2 of the things that I thought often about was safety and justice. And growing up here, learning about the case of the exonerated 5, learning about Sean Bell, learning about Eric Garner, learning about Michael Brown. And then in 2020, the year where all of these tweets are referring to, it was the year when George Floyd was killed. And it felt like safety and justice had never been further apart. And it was actually Eric Adams in 2021 who said that New Yorkers need not choose between these 2 things. And so one of my focuses was, how do we deliver that justice? And now what I know, having represented 100,000 people.
Will you be watching the debate tonight? Yes, I will. 4 p.m. PT in just under 3 hours.
In Western Queens, is that to deliver that justice, you have to also deliver that safety. And that means representing the men and women in the NYPD. It means representing the black and brown New Yorkers who've been victims of police brutality. It means representing the Muslim New Yorkers in my district who were surveilled on the basis of their faith.
68% of independent voters want more police officers on the street. And Cuomo, tomorrow night in that debate, he's going to say, I'm going to bring 5,000 more police officers to the street. Will you match that and agree with him on that?
I don't look to Andrew Cuomo for leadership. And
will you put 5,000 more cops on the street?
I've been very clear. I want to keep the number of officers that we have, and I want to make it easier for those officers to do their job. And what that means is that we allow officers to focus on serious crimes, and for all of the focus on the head count, we should focus on the retention crisis. When I started running for mayor, 200 officers were leaving the department every month. Now it's 350. And a lot of them are leaving because there's simply no way they can do their job in what's being asked of them. And to your point, however, Andrew Cuomo is going to say a lot of things.
I know this is a very naive thing to say and to believe, and I apologize for sincerely believing it. But I do believe a lot of people join the force because they want to improve their community. I don't think they stay that person, and I don't think that they do that in actuality. And I don't think their definition of improve the community is necessarily the same as mine. But I do think that that's an underlying desire for a lot of them. And can you imagine how frustrating it must be for those people, like that being an NYPD officer mostly means playing, you know, Castle Crashers on your phone, you know, fucking Bejeweled, and the subway, like 3 guys to every MTA stop, not doing anything. It's just absolutely wasting everyone's time. I feel like between the bureaucracy, the fact that everybody despises you. Look, police officers would be happier if they were less hated by the population. And they would be less hated by the population if they didn't suck so much. I bet a lot of cops fantasize about living in, like a lot of NYPD cops, they fantasize about living in a New York City where, you know, they can just be like the local neighborhood cop. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you know, they're on the street corner and they help people and stuff. I do think that. I don't think they all join the force to be like corrupt bullies, okay? I do think they like that idea. Yeah, they fantasize about being TV cops, you know? Hold on. NYPD officer 1950. Just give me like a classic cop look, okay? I want to see, you know? Now, I know these people were also corrupt pieces of shit, okay? Look, we're not romanticizing the past. What I'm talking about is like the idea, you know, of somebody who carries the community and people respect him, and he's got his hat. He's got to have the hat, you know. I think they like the concept of being valuable and of service in that way. And that just can't happen with police as they exist these days. Again, I understand that your job as a cop in New York back in the 50s was mostly beating up Irish people. I'm not going to pretend that wasn't the case, but we're talking about an idealized reality here. We're talking about what they want to be. And I'd be willing to bet that overall, cops today are a lot less violent than they were back then. We just, you know, didn't have body cameras or smartphones or whatever else.
Tomorrow night on the debate stage. And frankly, I wish it was more like NASCAR, so New Yorkers could see the billionaires that were sponsoring him right on his suit jacket. Because this is a man who had 10 years. And I know now that it's politically convenient, he watches Fox News as well. So I'll just speak to him directly. Andrew, you had your chance to lead this state. You took that time to sell out working class New Yorkers to your billionaire donors. And instead of actually meeting the needs of people who couldn't afford to live in this city, you gave $959 million in tax breaks to Elon Musk. And now you want us to believe that we can't spend less money than that to make every bus fast and free in the same city.
All right. I'm going to squeeze in two very quick ones here, if you can answer them quickly.
He's going to fucking crush this debate tonight, man.
Commissioner Tisch, you have suggested that you want her to stay. Have you asked her to stay, and has she said yes? Because I think that is one issue that would go a long way towards police retention.
I've said that I appreciate Commissioner Tisch's record of uprooting corruption in the upper echelons of the NYPD. Yep. I've appreciated her presiding over drops in crime across the city, and I continue to actively consider her to be my police commissioner. I haven't made any personnel commitments.
Okay, so you don't want to ask her right now?
I think it would be smart to keep the current police commissioner. You don't want to change out the guard. You don't want the NYPD not to trust you.
No. That's the kind of conversation I would actually have in person, in private, not a politics of theater.
Okay. It's an issue that a lot of people brought up with me when I told them I was going to be speaking with you. Last question. You want to have a World Cup czar. I know you're a huge soccer fan, Arsenal fan. I have a lot to learn about soccer. I'm happy to admit that. And I look forward to learning more. That would be great. What is this World Cup czar going to do for New York City business?
The World Cup is the largest sporting event in the world. And it's as if no one has been thinking or talking about it here in New York City government. It's coming next summer to this city. We're going to have billions of people watching. The World Cup czar is going to ensure that this is a tournament that New Yorkers remember as well, not just those who visit us. That it's a tournament that will signify an increase, not only in tourism, but for small businesses and an exploration of this city. Because for too long, we have had these kinds of opportunities.
Is czar just a normal title in the U.S.? No, a czar is an informal title that just generally describes a person whose job it is to focus on and specialize on something. It's not a formal position.
We've just passed up on. I mean, we recently had the 400th
it's an
anniversary
advisor
of New York City. Most people have no idea.
Right, good point.
Because the city didn't do anything about it.
Well, you know, President Trump's going to make a huge deal out of the 250th anniversary of New York City. So maybe there's an example there. And he and his family, his son is a huge soccer fan. So would you welcome them to New York to enjoy the World Cup with you?
I would welcome them to come to New York City and also to talk about how we can actually lower the cost of living, because that has to be the focus. And frankly, that's a promise that's been broken. It's time to fix it. And that's what I'm running to do.
Saron Mamdani, thank you very much. Pleasure to talk to you. Hope we can continue the conversation. We'll be watching the debate really closely.
He's so good. Yeah, he always has a hand reaching out, but he doesn't capitulate. You know what I mean? He'll say, yeah, I'll work with Trump, but he never does this hemming and hawing, this like, we'll meet in the middle. He never implies that he'll meet in the middle. What he's basically saying is like, I'm willing to bring you over to me. Like he doesn't really, he doesn't imply otherwise. It's very good. It's very, very good. This was a little bit of a uncoordinated, you know, or I should say like poorly structured segment, because half of it was us looking up you know, crime rap sheets on John stabbing to every major U.S. city. But, well, you know, it's undisciplined, yeah. Mamdani crushes it on Fox. We have a little bit of time before I have to go for my break, and then we're going to come back for the 4 p.m. PT Mamdani Sliwa Cuomo debate, which I will be here live for, of course. In the meantime, since we're on the Mamdani train right now, somebody earlier linked this. I wanted to take a look. Anyone but Mamdani interviewing Cuomo voters at October 7th event. Well, you sure know how to find them. I'm not going to watch the entire thing because that would be content stealing. I will definitely watch some of the thing, though. There's more content than I want to do later tonight after the debate as well. It's going to be a full day, so keep that in mind. Nice shirt, jackass. Yeah, well.
So you said you're a New York City voter. Who are you thinking of supporting in this election?
Most likely Andrew Cuomo.
And why is...
Okay, now you can't be mean, guys. You can't be mean. I know it's going to be... You know what? I'm so smart.
What's that?
Because I think of all the candidates, he at least has government experience. He has actual policy platforms. And while I think we all may have issues with the way he left the governor's mansion, I still think he's, of the options we have, the best candidates.
Hiding chat makes it so much worse. Yeah. Now that I've hidden chat, it's your mind fills in the blanks, and it's so much worse. I can pick up the best ones here. Okay, we have somebody posted a frog. That's the yep emote. Somebody asked, "Is this satire?" One person, Dank Justice, said simply gay. And I don't disagree. It's stuff like that mostly. You know, that's the play-by-play, okay? That's my John Madden coverage of the ongoings at the VGG chat.
And what do you think about Zohran Mamdani? It looks like he is likely going to win. He's leading in the polls.
Look, I've known Zohran for 10 years. I consider him a friend, but I also disagree with Zohran on just about every single policy position there is.
How do you know him?
A mutual friend. But I think Zohran's issue is a lack
I don't know.
of experience and surrounding himself with people who have brought him further left than perhaps he really is.
Really? He's been a public figure for some time now, and his online, his digital footprint suggests that he's been working with the DSA for years. Did you know him before DSA? Was he like a liberal when he was 15? I mean, who isn't? I don't know. Because a lot of people are Nazis when they're 15 these days.
But as long as he's appearing that way, I'm not going to vote for him. So I like the guy. He's a nice person. I'll have dinner with him, but I'm not going to vote for him. That's my feelings on Zohran. Is nice guy, but a guy where I disagree with on literally every single issue, and it's not going to get my vote.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No problem.
So I'm guessing you're voting for Mamdani?
Very funny. You know I'm not. Anybody but Mamdani.
Okay.
Can you tell me more about that?
Sure. I don't believe that an Islamic communist should be mayor of New York City. This is a bastion of capitalism, number one. Number two, his views actually just forget about the fact that he's an Islamic communist. He has no experience in anything he's done. He basically wants free grocery stores, free...
Isn't it fucking crazy how this country is so Islamophobic that... Oh, wait, hold on. I can bring you guys back now. This country is so Islamophobic that we've just gotten used to people using Islamic as an insult, when as soon as a person uses Jewish as an insult, we know instantly that they're a Nazi. Like, person describes their political enemies as the Jew. Nazi, easiest read in the world. Person describes their political enemies as Islamic. Could be anyone. That could be anyone right of center. Frankly, that could be like some people in the Democratic Party, borderline. You know, that could be anywhere. We're just all used to it, you know?
Clothes, free everything else. none of the policies actually can be implemented, similar to AOC's economic views. I'm a trader and an economist, and what he is preaching actually can.
I don't think he's actually an economist. I'm just going to, he's a trader? Trader? That's not a job. What?
Not be done. They've tried it in San Francisco. They tried it in LA. They tried it in Portland.
Like a day trade, like a stock trader? What? Like off Robinhood? What does that mean? He's got the app on his phone? He's got fucking Bitcoin? What? Okay, yeah.
Every one of these policies has failed globally.
So you mentioned his religion. You know, how do you think that would affect how the mayor would govern and actual policies? Like, do you see those things as separate? A lot of people have said, you know, don't attack him based on his identity.
Yes.
What do you make of that? Including like Curtis Lewa has said, you know, leave the attacks about, you know, Zoran's religion out of this.
I've seen what happened in London, and we've seen what happens in other cities. Right now, New York is at a crucial point. London has fallen. No.
This guy's brain is fucking soup. Oh my god. This guy speaks entirely in poll memes. Holy shit.
Cliche intended. London has fallen. Jews, there's an attack in Manchester. Synagogues are getting attacked. The radicalization, his father is pro-Hamas, MAMDANI. This is actually not, I don't...
Check out where this dude got his t-shirt from. Yeah, I see Crusader Outlet. Incredibly funny for a Jewish person to be wearing that, by the way. No, you don't understand. I'm also based in Epic and Tradpill. No, don't throw me in the pit. Ah! Yeah, fucking...
It's actually, there's interviews of him, he actually is pro-Hamas.
Like, what do you mean by pro-Hamas? Like,
he doesn't believe just in the fact the Palestinians have right to self-determination. He believes in terror. MAMDANI himself, actually, this is the best point of all, made a rap song that is pro-Hamas. You guys can find it all over YouTube, and I don't do the conspiracy or AI thing. It's everywhere. It was supplementing the leaders of Hamas financially about 6 years ago. This is way before October 7th. And one of the guys lives in Qatar, and he made a whole entire rap song about him. This is the man that we can possibly elect here, sadly, as mayor.
Zoran Mamdani said that he would actually pledge 800% more funding toward combating hate crimes, including anti-Semitism. Does that, you know, change your perception of him at all? What do you make of that policy promise that he's made?
If he pledges that, then that's fine. But I don't believe in political pledges. I believe in political action. And until any
Wait, then why do you believe in his pledges to do the free grocery stores and stuff like that? What does that mean? If you only believe in actions, he hasn't been mayor yet.
Anybody gets elected, this goes for Zoran or anybody else, there's no real truth to what is said.
Captain Israel over here.
So would you be voting for Cuomo instead?
Yes.
Or
I'll be voting for Cuomo instead, and I wish that the whole entire Jewish community, and not just the Jewish community, the city, were Democrats in the primary, and we all converted for a day. I'm an independent, I'm not a right-wing ultra anything, I'm not a left-wing ultra anything, and then we came back to center after the election. But in the primaries, that didn't happen. And now, according to Polymarket, we're at 85% Mamdani. And I really hope it doesn't. I hope it does not happen. Real estate people that I know in New York, from the real estate, stocks, this can actually, can I get a little crazy here?
Are you about to, like, okay.
Can cause an actual collapse in the U.S. economy. And I'm going to tell
Dog, the guys who printed your t-shirt are going to find you and kill you. What the fuck? This guy's a parody.
Tell you why. The banks haven't marked to market a lot of the real estate that's in New York. There's people here that are very into real estate. I'm talking about the biggest buildings that you've ever seen that the banks will have to mark to market because they're all going to move to Florida. If you lose your tax base in New York, who's going to pick up the garbage?
Is this a bit? Yeah, he's literally like, Mamdani is bad because he's anti-Semitic. Also, if Mamdani wins, me and my friends who control local finance and real estate will economically collapse the effectively cultural capital of the United States by waging financial war against the... It's just Jesus fucking Christ. Dude, they gotta. I know it's like a rough uphill road, but holy shit, God bless all the Jewish people in America who are working to like distance themselves from your right-wing religious and cultural contemporaries, because these people are like fucking inviting so much. Yeah, you have to de-associate with all the people who are living Cumtown bits, okay? If the people you are with are in their pursuit of being Zionist, invoking anti-Semitic stereotypes on themselves, you need to have a conversation with them.
Who's gonna do the dirty work? And all of these guys are gonna leave. These policies have to be corporate.
I'm only voting for Curtis. I see on YouTube all the time.
This is a real interview. Hang on.
Only Curtis.
Look at my shirt.
MAMDANI.
Wait, come here.
So what do you think of MAMDANI?
I see all the time on YouTube. I only vote for Curtis. MAMDANI is the worst thing that would ever happen to this world.
What about Cuomo?
We love our Sliwa voters here, don't we, folks?
He's an anti-Semite. Cuomo is an idiot. I don't like Cuomo. Cuomo is more left than MAMDANI. Who did the cash?
He's not Islamist though.
Who did the no cash bail? Who closed all the prisons? Who released Cuomo? All this shit you see in the city now is because of Cuomo. Who gave us Katioko? Cuomo.
I disagree with my brother here and say that MAMDANI would be much worse than Cuomo.
MAMDANI will be worse than Cuomo, but Cuomo is not good.
100%.
Curtis spent his entire life defending the city. Okay? Yes. Defending security, safety is Curtis. He's smart.
I agree 100%.
He's smart. He cares about the city. He loves the city. Cuomo is an opportunist.
The problem is that
Cuomo
Curtis...
cannot get a job.
She finds such interesting people. Buddy, this is just New York City, okay? I was there for a week and I lived more in that week than I have a year in Seattle. And I love Seattle, okay? New York City just... It's just the center of a lot of energy.
Anywhere else other than politics.
The problem is that Curtis doesn't have there's no chance right now because New York are Republican. I wish you were right. No, but let's be in reality, okay? I go according to what people are betting on as the trader, right?
Yes.
Cuomo, okay? MAMDANI, 85% of poly market. Cuomo, 9%. Curtis.
Is this what this guy means by trader? He means like he gambles on the poly market? I bet he did. Oh man, do you think he's gonna lose big when MAMDANI wins? I mean, it's 85.15 in the poly market, right? They're selling dollar bills for 85 cents out there. If the land is full of gold.
Less than 1%. Those are real. There's about $100 million in contracts that are trading on this, okay, weekly. I'm going to go by what the market's telling me and saying that Curtis, unfortunately, I love the guy. I've been watching him for 25 years. I was a kid. I used to watch him like on the subways. He would protect people. But unfortunately, he doesn't have a chance right now.
Yes. Curtis is an amazing...
So Curtis would be your first choice?
Why do you always interview people that like MAMDANI?
Well, just because a lot of people happen to like MAMDANI, so I just kind of reflect.
One person ever said Curtis.
That's not true, actually.
What network are you with?
I have a YouTube channel. I interview people about New York City politics, and actually, so it was interesting. Before the primary.
This is why I can't take people seriously when they say they'd leave NYC to Florida. Okay, micro sarcasms, I get your point. However, this guy right here looks like he's already moved to Florida in his mind. This guy I 100% believe. He's already got the tan, the shades, this fucking shirt. He's already there in his mind and in his heart.
You know, I honestly didn't know who was going to win, Cuomo or MAMDANI, and then I went to Brooklyn. And it was just one part of Brooklyn, granted, but every single person who told me they had a plan to vote, they said that they were voting for MAMDANI. And they had like the ranking system down, and then I was like, okay, MAMDANI's gonna win. And so I kind of just survey what's going on. I don't pick selectively, you know, I just kind of reflect what people are saying.
What's your channel called?
Clickbait Wasteland.
Okay.
She's amazing.
Okay.
She's really, really good.
I
love her.
didn't even know that, so now I know. Okay, but the last thing I'll say about him is that if you do get elected, please implement policies that make economic sense. Socialism is going to give you last little words of wisdom. Has never worked in one country, in one place in the world, except a kibbutz in Israel.
Wait, this Sliwa guy likes her? She interviewed him.
Maybe in the beginning of the formation of the state, and then even it didn't work because people want to make more money, and there is inherent capitalism in us. Where the New York Stock Exchange was born here, the New York Mercantile Exchange, sugar, orange juice, wheat, corn, everything was traded here. The capitalist center of the world. We cannot, under any circumstances.
Is the interviewer neutral or a chud? She's cool. I can't. There's nothing that you can really say here. That's again, this is all Cumtown shit. I can't accept the kibbutz.
Have a socialist mayor.
He knows that the Jews don't like him. He knows that Israel.
There are a lot of Jews. If you look at polls, though, there are a lot of Jews who support Mamdani. What do you make of that? I'm just saying, like, if you look at polling.
I think that the polls, something doesn't make sense, in my opinion.
Actually, the first stock market was in Japan through the rice markets. Mekabishi, you made a mistake. You meant to post this from your Masaigu account.
More in the polls. Every Jew at this point, right? So I come from a family that actually is unfortunately half left and half right wing, okay? Even my right wing, well, the right wing half of course doesn't. The left wing, Mamdani's a non-starter. The polls, something is wrong with the polls at this point. That's why this poly market is better than the polls.
Jesus fucking Christ, this guy's such a stereotype. Oh my God. Oh my fucking God. I hope this guy takes a long, hard look at his life after the after election day. We all know how the election's going to pan out. It would take a miracle for Cuomo to win.
Because the polls have, a lot of them have bias. There's no bias in the markets.
Oh my fucking God. There's no bias in betting odds. Oh my God.
Trade, and I would bet you if you looked, if they had poly market, a poll on poly market, did you vote for Mamdani? Are you Jewish? Are you going to vote for Mamdani? Are you Jewish? It would be less, and I don't know why the polls look like that. It doesn't make sense to us though. All these people here are Jews. I'm going to say maybe 10% Mamdani. The polls are coming what, 40?
You're at an October 7th rally.
You know better than me, 40%, 45%.
I forget the exact polling, but it was looking like he was leading among Jewish voters, which is kind of an interesting stat.
Every time I see a Jew that you interview, especially that girl that came from Canada, she was interviewing this Canadian girl. I'm Jewish and I love Mamdani. I cannot vote, but if I could vote, I would vote for Mamdani. You Canadian, what the hell do you know?
It could also be a generational divide. Like, what do you make of that?
It's an anti-Trump vote too, as well, right? Because it's an anti-Trump vote. So if you're a Jew that's more left wing, and Trump is coming out saying things about Mamdani, you're going to vote for Mamdani.
Right? I guess, like, you could say, like, more mainstream Democrats that are also, you know, against Trump, or like Cuomo, and then also like Curtis Lewa even has a bit of like a weird.
This is fucking incredible. This is such a good dynamic.
Contentious relationship with Trump. So I mean that's just New York.
I said I wouldn't content steal the entire thing, and I'm starting to feel guilty because I expected I'd only watch like 3 or 4 minutes of it. And now here I am, 10 minutes in.
City, I guess. Yeah.
If you think about it for a second, it's really funny. They're voting for Mamdani because they're saying that everything is so expensive. Who's been running the city for the last 12 years? Democrats. Correct. De Blasio 8 years. Adams got 4 years. Okay, we didn't.
Yeah, obviously, it's always going to be Democrats running New York City, but they're right-wing Democrats, except for Bill de Blasio, who did freeze the rent multiple times. Like, what? This is such a.
Have Bloomberg in a long time, so they're voting for the same people that they have now and expecting different results. You're voting for another De Blasio.
Mamdani is the same as Cuomo.
Why you vote for De Blasio and expect Giuliani results?
And the question
Giuliani? That's the bar we're aiming for? Fucking Giuliani? Okay.
Where does the money come from to subsidize the things he wants to do when everybody leaves? And let's just say everyone doesn't leave hypothetically, but
I mean, New York's always going to be New York. But I get there was that.
There's real estate. The real estate people that are in New York are not joking right now.
Can this guy like unironically please stop self-JQing? Jesus fucking Christ. Oh my fucking God. There are like Nazis on YouTube. You can't be saying this shit, man. No. Real estate people are not going to pick up and leave the most happening city on the planet for fucking Florida, a place that is so fucked that home insurance companies don't even insure properties there anymore, and everyone relies on the state insurance company because of the hurricane risk. You know, no. You're going to move the buildings? Ridiculous.
The markets aren't joking. And this could cause a financial crisis. I'm telling you that right now, with real estate mark to market going Mamdani's way, it can cause a big. Last example here, the price of gold in the last, I don't know,
This guy is such a serious. Oh my god, Poly market is better than polls. Yeah, look, me and all my friends are gonna move if he wins here. Price of gold. I like very concerned. What is it? What did he say his job was? A trader?
$4,000 an ounce. Bitcoin also. The amount of flight to quality because of this election alone. Again, I've been trading since I was 16 years old, gold.
Oh my god.
I've never seen anything like this, and the underlying current is the New York City election.
Really? That's the price of gold, which has been spiking in correspondence with fluctuations in the market and changes in trade policy. The spike in gold that's correlated to a decrease in the value of the USD, which is driven by our international trade policy on a federal level by the new president. That's all being directed by the New York City mayoral election, an institution that has nothing to do with our monetary policy. All Mamdani. It's incredible. He's driven up the price of gold, the international price of gold, before even winning as mayor.
And that is first and foremost in the market's minds, even though stocks are going up. I know it's tangential, but...
Cool. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And also, one more thing I want to say is, as far as safety, he wants, Mandami, he wants to spend $100 million on attorneys for illegal immigrants, people that broke the law.
Based. I'm not even fact-checking this. Based.
To come into this country illegally. He wants to spend $100 million on attorneys. Who's paying for that? Where's the money coming from? Trump said he's not giving them a penny. Where's the money coming from? He's going to tax everybody through the eyeballs, all to pay for illegals. It's not for America, it's for everybody else. It's not for New Yorkers, it's for everybody else. The guy just got his citizenship 5 minutes ago. Been in the city.
It's so cool how much of American politics are dictated by the whims of genuinely, like, low IQ people, you know? Like, there's no amount of talking you could do with this guy that would change his mind. He arrived at his conclusions first, you know?
For 3 years. How can he defeat Curtis that spent his entire life defending this city? How can people vote for that and not vote for Curtis? It doesn't make any sense.
Because this guy with this accent complain about immigrants? Dog, that's every fucking... That's all of them. That's like... half of the MAGA base is we don't want your kind around here, and it's two Mexicans staring at each other. It's like all of them, man.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, guy who got his citizenship 8 minutes ago versus guy who got his citizenship 7 minutes ago. We don't want your kind here.
And that's all
Get
I
the
have to
fuck
say.
out of here.
Thank you so much.
You're not part of the founding stock like me and my family.
Hi, I'm Megan.
No, that's enough. I'm stealing. I'm content stealing. She fucking rules, by the way. Listen, that's my promo, okay? Clickbait wasteland. Channel's blowing up. Yeehaw. Seriously, fantastic stuff here. Goated channel, 100% goated channel. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, speaking of Mamdani, guys, in 2 hours, the New York City mayoral debate takes place. Mamdani, Cuomo, and Sliwa facing off in a one-on-one boxing match. Whoever survives gets to be mayor. My understanding, at least, is that this is how it'll work. I'm not going to read donos because I'm going to be back in a little bit. Okay? So, I'll be back in a little bit. All right? Take care. I'll see you guys soon. Oh, wait. Let me add the chapter title. Okay, now see you guys soon.